So this is, yeah, there we go. So we'll start the show.
I might go on Facebook and troll us.
So, hello, welcome to That's Wargamer. I am your show host, Rob. Oh, and I'm joined by my other two Thursday show hosts, both Nick.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Wave to everyone on the camera, say hi.
Hi, guys.
And Tom. Tom doesn't talk, actually. It's a very interesting show on a Thursday. It's two people who talk and a mute who just...
But when I talk, we know about it.
Like Silent Bob, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, hello everyone, welcome to the show. Some of you may be watching us live, weirdly, on Facebook for the first time. So it might be the first time you've ever watched anyone. I don't know. It should be working, but we'll only be responding to questions and information in the Twitch chat.
That's what
So if you want to join us on twitch.tv, hi Hook and Pin. There we go.
Is that a new person?
Hook and Pin's not new.
Hook and Pin's not new,
just
no.
a venue.
Shows how much attention I pay.
Yeah. So how are you, Tom and Nick?
I'm excellent, man. Today I've put my Chinook in, one of my Chinooks to show off.
Yeah. Do you want to explain to us what
Can
a
you see
Chinook
it?
is?
So it's a helicopter for orcs.
What are these dangly bits?
So these are the guns. So
Ooh.
we've got the Scorcher and then some
Ooh.
Death guns, I think they are. So it's a Forge World model that Games Workshop sell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 74 quid for one.
Well, it depends which country you're in. More on that later.
So 74 quid if you buy it in England.
Mm.
And I wanted 3, so I didn't want to spend 210 quid on
Chinooks.
Chinooks. So I spent roughly 40 quid on plastic card and made a Chinook that actually looks more like a Chinook.
Yeah.
That it's sort of based on.
Have you got any spare plastic card as well?
I've got like an A4 size bit of plastic card roughly.
Okay, so if you buy 2 bits of that, you can make 3 Chinooks, maybe? Or...
Well, I've made 3 Chinooks.
Oh, out of that one piece?
No. Right, so I bought. I can't remember how much I bought, but it's 40 quid's worth of different thickness of plastic card.
Okay.
So there it is.
It's beautiful.
Top down view.
What's this on the back?
That's just a bit of engine.
Oh, okay.
A bit of engine.
There you go.
So I was going to motorise the blades, but that was a bit too much effort. So I've magnetised them.
Can you spin them?
You can spin them, so they do spin.
Hi Dasmall, hi
do
Eyeglasses,
spin.
and hi Misdirector.
That's cool.
I wanted it to sort of automatically rotate with like a little motor.
Are they going to spin once they're once they're painted?
They will spin when they're painted, yeah,
Okay.
but only if you tap it.
That way you can take it off. And then just
Yeah,
paint
so
this
it's
bit.
easier to store flat if I wanted to store it
Can you take
somewhere.
it off this bit as well?
Off where?
Off the base.
No, well you can. Eventually it's going to be fixed in. But it's just
It's got nails in it.
plugged in it.
Stabbing your opponent with when you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Orcs never lose.
Exciting. I don't know if people can see
Fight
that.
again.
Oh,
So like the
Archetypes in the
cage.
house.
Oh,
One of the channel mods, and he's just subscribed for 9 months in a row. What a bit.
Swagger.
Ah.
Yeah,
He's
swagger,
had a
swaggerlicious.
He's had a
Swaggersaurus.
subscription baby.
Huh?
He's had
Yeah, he's had a subscription baby, yeah.
Popped it out.
So
Enough time for a little human to be made. That's the joke he made as well.
We could have done something productive. You could have made a baby, or you could have subscribed to Be Honest Wargamer for 9 months and done something.
I know
really
which I'd
matters.
rather do.
Same.
Yeah. No babies for me.
No. So it's got a little compartment for 10 orcs as well, which I'm excited about.
It looks cool, man.
And you can actually fit the orcs in there, right?
You can actually transport
Ooh.
them in there. Yeah.
So it's true scale, right?
Yes.
So good. So if you guys don't know what true scale means, that's fine. One of the things we're all going to do today is we're going to have this ongoing conversation today, which probably is going to run into next week, or maybe not, because we might be talking about the Space Wolf Codex next week. But we're going to be talking about 40k terminology later, and what that means. It's part of an ongoing conversation. Me and Nick really got into it a minute ago. I was reading about NATO war game strategies earlier. I went way too far. I went super left field, so we're going to be...
Did you go on a tangent on your own?
On my own. I went on my own personal
That's
tangent.
You could just lock you inside a post box and have an argument with yourself.
No, I was just more like, this can be relevant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
NATO
do
war
this.
games is relevant to this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. I haven't started the podcast recording. I got too excited about the fact we're also on Facebook. If someone's watching, on Facebook, we're also live on Twitch, and that's where I'll be taking comments and questions if you want to ask us anything. Like, did Nick and Tom intentionally kind of anti-colour coordinate? You know, that green
I didn't
and
know
white.
that was possible.
What?
We look like the Death.
Tom's just trying to blend into the
We
background.
look like pre-Heresy Death Guard.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
No, No, pre-heresy's like cream and brass.
Fuck.
That's some green. That's some green in there as well, isn't it?
We're just before and after then.
Oh yeah, no, they did. You're right. Yeah, no, actually, no, yeah, you're right. I'm so sorry. Shoulder pad and armor. Screw me, right?
Get your law right.
Yeah, we'll try.
Before I correct you again.
Defeated by narrative Tom.
Don't want to be defeated by narrative Tom. Right. And so have you guys done any Warhammering this week for Warhammer 40,000?
I played, at the weekend, I played a 2 versus 1 with my Necrons.
So you used Necrons versus 2 people?
I was the one.
Wow.
Versus 2. Versus Eldar and Marines.
Oh, God.
Whether we use it, so it was like Eldar with 10 Reapers and Shining Spears, and a Warlock Farsi with Doom.
Yeah.
And then obviously Doom helps out the Space Marines with the reroll wounds on one unit, which was fun.
Fun. How did it go?
Fun. I pushed the game. It was a good scenario, so I pushed it to the end of the game, made it quite close. But it was, as it always is, quite an uphill struggle with Necrons.
Unless you have vaults.
Yes.
You need to get that
Sadly,
sorted.
yeah, do our day, man. Come on, sort me out.
Give him some more cash.
Do you need that Tesseract vault real soon?
Yeah.
So it was tough, was it?
Yeah, but I tried a new dynasty with my Necrons, which was quite exciting. Well, I basically used the dynasty only for its stratagem, because I think it's Neferak. Or Neferik.
What does it do? Is it the close combat
So
one?
the trait is, when you advance, you auto go 6, and you can go through models and terrain as if it wasn't there.
I don't remember that one, so I won't be able to tell you.
So it's Neferak. So basically their unique stratagem is, you can pay 1 command point in deployment for an infantry unit or a swarm, and then it can basically deep strike on the table. So what I did was I had 2 big units of 6 destroyers, each, because they're infantry, I could pay 2 command points and they can both deep strike. Mm-hmm. So in turn 2 I brought 1 up, used the extermination protocols, so reroll hits and wounds.
Sweet. And
then turn 3 I brought the second 1 up.
Okay.
And did the same thing.
Sounds good.
But basically in that game is I brought the 6 up, did that, killed some things, and then it died. Brought the next one up, killed some things, and then it died. Yes, it died. But actually with warriors, auto advancing 6, sort of going 12 inches a turn, or 11 I think it is, was quite nice for like grabbing objectives, because you could just go through walls and stuff like that. Yeah. So that was quite nice for objective grabbing.
It's not like the biggest distance that you're covering. It's like 14 inches to the centre of the objective. No. So, but it's still alright. People forget that, they can't reach that objective. Oh, yes I can. It's alright. And
it was actually quite good because I had 3 units of 10 in Ghost Arcs, and then I had I went very character light, and I had a couple of Tomb Spiders to fix up the Ghost Arcs. And then being able to just auto go 12 was really nice for that, because they could chase the fast moving Ghost Arcs to fix them up. Yeah. And the Cryptex that I had, they all had this Scarab cloak, so they can move 10. Yeah. And obviously you can auto go 16 with that, so they can go really, really quick.
It also means that you can move start a little bit further away with the Tomb Spiders, so you can actually put them somewhere safe.
Yeah, put them
rather
safe,
than having to stick them nearby.
Yeah.
And that really affects where you put your Ghost Arcs, because you have to stick them near the terrain. Yeah. Whereas, no, it's just like,
So I sort of had them hid behind a building, hiding, so they couldn't be shot.
Yeah.
Advance over there.
Not bad.
Yeah, so that was my game. And then I played Age of Sigmar on Wednesday, and cheated.
Good.
What did you do?
I had double slan, and I was assuming that both slans could store up summoning points, but they can't just shoot general.
Oopsie.
Correct. Tom, have you done any 40k this week?
I've sorted out my cabinets, which has been alright. Getting all my stuff together so I can count up all my stuff. I played a tournament over the weekend. That was alright.
You did?
Yep. So I played my Eldar, which was like some Dark Reapers, some Shining Spears, some Warp Spiders actually, testing them out.
Did you have a fun time?
I did. It was good. I played Deathwatch round 1. It ended round 5. He had 1 model left. So I only got 14 points out of 20.
Oh, nice.
Then I played... I don't remember what I played round 2. Oh, I played Chaos Space Marines and Thousand Suns.
Cool.
And it was one of those where he was waiting to Tide of Traitors, and then I just removed all of his cultists in one turn.
Nice.
And it was like...
That's good. Cool. They should be removed, though. They're fucking evil.
Yeah.
Right? They get them.
Yeah. Right. And then I 20-nailed that, and then I played Custodes, Blood Angels, and Imperial Guard in the last round. And
Holy triumvirates.
yeah, and then I killed all those guardsmen and killed all those characters. So 20 of that. So
Okay, great job.
I came second to Mark Crumbly Bumbly.
Crumbly home.
Yes.
The classic wargamer that he is.
Yeah, he got 60. So it's just like, well, he didn't have to play me, did he?
But so you had a good time?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
It was a
and
charity
you're
event.
excited about the Space Wolf Codex, right?
I'm really excited about this
Good.
Codex.
All
It's
right.
going to be good.
I unfortunately have played
Are
no
you excited
40k
about
this week.
Sorry.
I played no 40k this
You
week.
played in the AOS?
None.
I've played also no AOS. I've been very busy
Ooh.
doing many a thing. Many things for the show and for the channel, like learning how to live stream on. We're both on Facebook and YouTube at the minute, so if you're watching...
And Twitch.
And Twitch, all of them, but if you're watching, I can kind of jump on the others and see the comments, but if you really want to make comments, just go on Twitch. Just go on Twitch, because it's easier. And Dude Our Day, making Twitch really fun, has donated 1,000 bits to Nikos's Ark Fund. So if you guys are new and haven't watched us before...
The Ark Fund of the Vaults.
Yeah,
because
Nikos
we need to make that distinction before he buys something else.
And Dude Our Day has been slowly donating 100 bits, which is about, I think, the financial equivalent of about
a pound.
Over the course of the past 9 months. He's just
Getting there. We're almost there.
tooted it, yeah. The sheer bloody minded effort of playing Necrons when they stink. They do stink. Matt Pashby, hi. He says, it's been a while since I've been able to see you catch your ugly mugs live. Missed your wonderful faces. That's lovely. This is us. Flukes a lot says, my dad was a baker in the army, by the way. He went in all buns glazing.
Wow.
There you go. And also, Canhammer Darren is here. What up,
Ooh.
Canhammer Darren? He's a babe. Has been messaging me some really cool stuff. So, should we get to the news? So, segments we're going to cover today. We're going to do the news, have a chat about that, and then we're going to talk about also Mark Wildman's here, and he says, I would bang 2 of you.
Was that me twice?
Well,
I think that's you twice. I think that's you twice. He's also done that really old man dad thing where he's put his age. So he's put Mark Wildman 1983, which is just... That's
what, for his username?
Yeah, for his username. That's a real old man thing to do, right? Yeah. It's like your dad's like AOL profile. It's like, you still use AOL?
Your email address.
Yeah, dad 17.
When you've worked on as many databases as I have and you keep to put email addresses in, you just see some monstrosities.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
So we're going to be talking about the news real quick, and then we're going to jump from the news and we're going to talk about 40k terminology. Now, I've done some research, just a little quick note on this. I've done some research, I've tried to do a lot of research on these things. I've definitely gone on some side notes. You guys, have you guys found that there isn't a consistent language when it comes to 40k? Because lots of people have different podcasts and shows and TV channels, and Games Workshop themselves obviously can't decide one day to next what they're doing. So would you say that there's a consistent language for 40k at the minute or not?
I mean, some words catch on, but mostly it's just individuals thinking up cool names for things.
All right,
So it's
cool.
like, if you have no idea how to describe something, you just... Slingshot?
Yeah. And I think what would be really interesting as we start to, because this isn't going to be the definitive guide, this is going to be more of an exploratory conversation. So we'd love you to jump into the chat and have the conversation along with us.
Brainstorming, aren't we?
Yeah, we're brainstorming, and then
Give us words.
and then we're going to try and refine it over the next, distill it over the next week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Wyman says, I want people to steal my credit card details too. That's what he says.
What, is that his PIN number?
Do you want me to tell you the news? That's his PIN number, yeah. My PIN number
Brilliant.
is 1111. Okay, show notes. Right. So the news this week in 40k, gentlemen.
News.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So first off, there was Forge World drama.
Ooh.
I've seen it all over the internet.
It's been a hot topic. Let's maybe not focus on it.
Yeah.
But do you know what this has been, Nikos?
No.
Price increases.
So Forge World
Oh.
have streamlined their sales
What
process.
was that little giggle about?
So what they've done now is effectively you order in your own currency,
Right.
yeah, somewhere in the world, right, and then but all of so basically they've Australia'd the rest of the world. So some of you may not be aware that if you want to order something in Australia, a Citadel product in plastic, no matter how you do the conversion rates, they're just paying a fuck ton more money than everyone else in the world. Which is, whatever that might be. Obviously, there's shipping included and a bunch of other stuff, but they pay loads more. They've done that now to everywhere else in the world.
Apart from the UK.
Apart from the UK. So you can buy your stuff in the UK, fine, but anywhere else in the world, not only are you, if you pay in your currency, you're paying more for the privilege of ordering Forge World stuff. That's the drama. And some people are upset and some people aren't upset. What do you think?
Well, if I didn't live in England, I'd probably be upset. But I do, so I'm not upset. So, I don't know. How much is it? Is it affected Australia worse than they were before?
Yes, because the
So
Horus
now
Heresy,
you're in-
Australia squared.
yeah, the Horus Heresy has always been like a bit of a bigger deal, or Forge World's been a bit of a bigger deal in Australia because obviously, they're like, we're paying a fucking premium anyway. Let's get Forge World stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they're like double dicked. That's a term I learned
Double
from.
dicked.
Yeah, I learned that from a magazine when I was 15.
Hustler.
And to see what everyone else in the chat's saying, Darren says, talking about the terms, it says, also interesting how previous edition terms stick to describe the same principle, like Deep Strike.
Feel no pain.
Yeah, but that shouldn't carry over, right? Because that's
No, it's an after damage save.
Yeah. Can I send you? The honest Wargamer, can I send you money and you buy it from the UK, Forge World, and ship it to Canada? Lol. Yes.
So I used to.
There's definitely a business there, by the way.
I used to do commission painting for an eBay studio who did that because the guy who ran the eBay studio was from Australia. So they used to take orders from people in Australia, buy it, and then ship it over cheaper than it would cost them to buy direct from Games Workshop.
I think that probably is a thing I probably should set up, right?
Yeah.
That was an excellent use of business bullshit, Rob. We're talking about they've streamlined. The Australian
Pitching doubling all prices.
And then Mark Wildman says, no, you can buy it cheaper from China.
Which is true.
Which we do not advocate.
Which we do not advocate, but that is...
it is true.
Archean says, also Archean wanted to shout out, and he definitely should, Dice Saloon in Brighton is amazing and should be checked out if you're nearby. So if anyone listens to the podcast or is watching now, apparently in Brighton there's a cool place to hang out. Dice Saloon. I get upset that Americans get a lot of products cheaper in the USA than we do for the exact same product over here for literally no reason. And Suristin1 says the Aussies for a while were buying Forge World armies because it was cheaper than plastic Games Workshop. Now China will be getting the business and the shipping will be quicker too.
Well, how quick was the shipping from Games Workshop proper?
I don't know.
So.
Kurt Angle says, quite dissatisfied with Tooth and Claw. Gene Stealer. Cool rules, by the way. That's cool.
The Abominant looks really good.
Yeah. China! Talking about that guy, he'll be in jail soon. China!
Prepare for Pence, boys. Let's go.
Also, there's obviously the huge class. I think, so, I don't know a lot about this. Obviously, I know some guys that work at Forge World. I don't want to get too into it. I think a lot of people on Facebook pages and stuff have had their 10 cents. The only thing I can say is that I think, and this is absolutely lies before I go in, so any lawyers working at Games Workshop, I'm lying, and this is not true. I've heard, with that said, that they need to increase the prices because obviously they're aware that there's that huge class action lawsuit coming from all the people who get cancer from the Forge World resin. Undocumented information that's not true. I don't know what you have to say so lawyers don't get you, but that's
allegedly.
Why
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And that's why they've upped the prices because they need to build up a
stockpile of cash,
a war chest for
to pay for Michael Cohen.
To pay Michael Cohen to defend them. That's why.
There you go for his GoFundMe.
Yeah, that is. Does that ring true with you, Nikos? Is that some of the stuff you've been hearing as well, or no?
No.
I just saw some rants on Facebook,
which are fair, I think.
I don't really. I'm not really in the Facebook group, so I've not seen any of this rage.
No. Well, it's been, and to be fair to all our brothers, some people say that gamers are really entitled. Like, oh no, you're complaining about the product, that's your hobby. But then again, something that's fair to say is that some 40k or Horus Heresy, not most people play it to win, but is sometimes pay to win as opposed to, because some units can be the broken unit, which...
And the meta moves so fast, you need to keep up.
Yeah, or something like Necron Pylons are a good example. Necron Codex, in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys probably agree, isn't that competitive.
It's fucking shit.
Well, there we go, that's a better description. However, Nikos, you obviously...
Still love it though.
The Pylons, as far as I'm aware, are quite good. The Necron Pylons.
I like the Pylons.
Yeah, I think
they were really good at the start of the edition, specifically.
Exactly.
It just seemed boring, though.
Oh, they are boring.
Back in 2015, they were really, really good because you used to be able to teleport them around with Veil of Darkness.
Yeah. So yes, and what I mean by effectively there might be a pay barrier, and now that pay barrier has become more expensive.
Yeah.
Or just cool models cost more now, and people who are collectors or want to tell a story, they've got to pay more money for it. I think that sucks. And there's a great conversation about how much Games Workshop should make. Like, cool that you've got an Audi car and, and you sell less of them, but that you make more money per unit. And some people do that. But then if you want to proliferate people gaming, there's a great conversation. Is it actually an internal power struggle? Has someone been able to take over the Forge World, sales bit, and they're intentionally upping the price to get Forge World's throat so that they don't?
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. What's the serious question, Archetypes?
Squeezed.
Huh?
They've been squeezed out.
Yeah, so I think
by their own company.
Because we already know that all of the Forge World data sheets and war scrolls, so the rules for Forge World products are now no longer done by the Forge World team. They've moved over to the Citadel business team. Citadel rules writing team. So we already know that's true. So now, who knows how much it's going to.
Yeah, so good example is the Typhon, which is a big siege breaker cannon thing.
Yeah.
Worthless. Super Chicken, Atos Rakares, worthless. Malefic Lords, worthless. If you allow Forge World, what exactly gets picked up? Some of the big marine tanks, maybe?
So what doesn't get picked up? Any of my fucking Mechanicum units. I'm not allowed to use any of them.
They are cool looking,
so triggered. They're so cool looking.
They are
thankfully, I've already bought them.
There you go. You don't care about the rules.
But to any of our people around the world, I'm sorry for your loss and increase. I hope you're okay. It's shitty news. Having to pay more for something anyway is just generally shitty news. So, I'm sorry, brothers.
If it gets really bad, maybe we can put some charity money together and arrange some airdrops of Forge World products.
We'll get a drone.
Parachuted in.
An honest Wargamer drone just flying around the skies with Rob's face on.
Hi, Forest Rambo, who's Aaron Wilson. Hi, hope you're well. Wait, can I have a Darren? I saw the coverage of Capital City Bloodbath, by the way. Fantastic event from the looks of it. Great tables, great armies. You need those 4 game out there next time.
And Scary won.
Huh?
My boy
and
won.
Scary won, yeah. We talked about this. Darren has said that we're welcome over there. So we've just got to get a ticket over for Canada now and then go do something.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd love to. Question number 3, would you guys buy what you have at 50% more of what you paid for it?
No.
Nick?
Would I buy... What was the question? Would
you buy the stuff that you already have at 50% more?
No.
From Forge World? No. Same. I already think it's...
I don't really buy stuff from Forge World. I tend to make my own shit.
Look, as Nico shows, he's already built.
He doesn't pay for it as 100% of the price. Never mind 150%.
All right. So that's the Forge World drama. And the only thing I really got to throw into that is... I hope you guys out there who are having to pay more or feel that you have to pay more are okay. Right? Sucks. I would say
it affected just Forge World then, not
just Forge World.
Just Forge World.
Yeah, just Forge World. I would say that I did a show on Monday, and I don't know if either of you two, you were here, Nikos, obviously. One of the things we were discussing, which probably is going to go into something that we'll bring to 40k later, is that I've challenged everyone in Age of Sigmar community to only play an army for a year. I've taken that challenge on myself, my Chaos Dwarves. Thankfully, already bought them, and I live in the UK. So I'm fine. But, Tom, what would you think about just playing a single 40k army for a year?
I can do that.
Yeah.
Defines how you define army, though. What would you do with
a single
Ynnari?
codex.
So what would you do with Ynnari?
Wouldn't include it. It's not a codex.
If it was good.
If it was good.
Have you been mostly playing Eldar, though?
Yeah.
You kind of been doing that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I think
exactly.
The only reason I say it is because I think realistically, that's part of a larger conversation which we had on Monday, and it's because effectively Games Workshop gets to make more money from people not knowing their rules very well, but flip-flopping between armies because they want something that looks cooler as the new thing. Therefore, you buy your Forge World products, they're a little bit more expensive, but you play it for a year, you get more use out of it.
I still have 5 Storm Ravens sat in my house.
As I sat in a room full of fucking... Look at this.
It is brilliant.
This has never been used.
But it should be.
You guys can see...
I wrote you a list for it, Rob.
But that's it. I've got a list for it, but that is base sprayed only. Never been used. Why have I bought it?
If you're not going to use it, I will.
I'm going to use it. I'm 100% going to use it. Anyway, so that's that bit of drama. And there's been loads of people talking about that. I think just play an army for a year. Right, next up.
I've kind of been doing that with my Chaos and Bloodletters.
Yeah,
well, this is the thing.
But I've had. We also mentioned on Monday. So I've been playing my Chaos and my mixed Chaos for most of the time 40k's been out. Dabbling in Salamanders recently. But then I've had my Necrons as my treat army when I want something different.
When you feel like some punishment.
Well, like
Yeah. That's a bit more of a challenge.
Well, that came up for me. I literally learned a massive lesson from Nikos. So, someone was kind of clearing out some of their hobby stuff, and I have some of the Hellblasters in Intercessors from the starter box. Like, I think I have 2 halves of the Space Marine starter box, and that person gave me the like another 2 halves. So I've ended up with like 20 Hellblasters and a bunch of like Inceptors and Intercessors. So I was like, okay, like what am I going to paint these as? And I was looking, and I was like, I'm just going to do a Nikos. So then they're silver. They're going to have black guns and black shoulder pads, and they are going to be everything. They're going to be salamanders and fucking ultramarines and blood angels, and they're going to be all and everything in the world.
Everything and nothing all at once.
It's all going to be sprayed. That singular, and some people were like, well, like, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm like, I'm not going to spend like it just because ultramarines are stronger, or just because I want to try out that trick. I'm not going to spend another £800. I don't have the money.
Yeah,
and also my models will be painted.
Yeah,
because it's not only a financial cost; it's a time cost in producing the unit, right?
This is why I've got my airbrush, so I can just spray everything orange, because nothing's orange. Like, you can just call it what I want.
That's true. I was thinking, there's nothing that's orange, is there?
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
And it looks really cool.
Yeah, orange is a great colour.
Yeah. So I'm just going to spray it all orange with my airbrush and say, bang, that's Ultramarines now. Or, you know, that's Raven Guard. That doesn't make any sense because it's bright orange, but it's Raven Guard now.
Something's orange.
What is?
Fire dragons.
Yeah, but they're not like a chapter trait or a grapple trait. They're just...
No.
They're just fire dragons are orange, yeah. I was going to do... I think orange is cool. Hi, Eddie Mac. Hi, Jay Hartley-Paul as well. Jay Hartley-Paul said, evening, new here. Will only play Orcs for yet another year. Promise, says Jay Hartley-Paul.
To be fair, when you're playing Orcs, you don't really have any more money for anything else.
Yeah, because you have to buy 1 billion models and spend 19 weeks painting it all. Fucking
that's why you get the airbrush.
I've got all my boys sprayed.
What? And have you painted them?
Well, I sprayed in black and then I sprayed brown.
I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Lexopolis says, lucky orange is the best colour. Well done, Tom.
Thank you.
All of my Mechanicum are orange, and like a bit of my Ashram Time got a little bit of orange in as well, so yeah. Hold on, remember the other impact of this change is we have to pay local sales taxes now, whereas before we already had to pay the VAT and the forgery price, so it was exempt. Oh. Wow. So they're even more expensive. So in Age of Sigmar terms, it's about $100 for 10 Chaos Dwarfs.
How much are Chaos Dwarfs here?
Imagine how much a Death Corps of Krieg army will cost in Australia.
Oh, it's just got more untenable.
My God.
Yeah, and also they've stopped selling a bunch of stuff. Orange is Rob's new black. A Riot Gaming. That's just some clever shit you said there.
He's also called Rob, so we'll just go with it. He's just talking about himself in the third person.
Yeah. Right. Next up, Space Wolf. We've seen the classic Space Wolf. They've done the codex previews on the community site. I do this in you guys can't see it on the podcast, but I'm doing those hypothetical bunny ear things that you do in quotation marks because effectively they're sales pitches, aren't they? And we saw that there's a bit of out of print drama.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen this?
No.
Okay, so the Warlord traits, Tom. So when you buy the English only print of the book, the Warlord traits are already defunct. And they've rewritten them.
Good.
Well,
maybe.
Okay. So how do you know how different they were then? Is it like a complete rewrite, or is it like tweaks?
I only looked at the newest versions of them.
So that's pretty poor, isn't it? Really,
it's really poor.
Like I was annoyed about like the AOS release where they released General's Handbook, Rulebook, Malign Sorcery book, and then literally 2 weeks later they've got the FAQ where loads of it's changed. So effectively, the books that you spent £100 or so on were already out of date.
Yes. And
you either had to tediously go through yourself printing out the FAQs, sticking it in, that annoyed me. And I only bought the General's Handbook. But then this is kind of like in a similar vein, like, although yes, it's 1 page of rules.
Yeah, but it's 1 page can be a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like an entire unit that is like.
Yeah, it just doesn't really inspire confidence in them putting out quality products that I'm going to actually want to buy.
Well, yeah, which is fine because like we're none of us like I think like let's just all be adults. You know, they put out pretty like relatively piss poor products quite a proportion of the time, and then they FAQ it or they do something, and we're all okay with that, and that's just what they do. So it's just some fun gossip, right? 'Cause it's like
something else to moan about. It's
fun. Well, not to moan about. I just think just like make a point of it, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's interesting.
We do like complaining though.
As a community, fuck yeah. That's like, what do you do? I like Warhammer, and then complaining about Warhammer, and also enjoying Warhammer.
Like we talked about on Monday, like it's the overarching hobby, and there's lots of different hobbies in there. Yeah. Moaning about Warhammer is
one of those subcategories.
One of my favourite types of moaning about Warhammer is the people who moan about people who moan about Warhammer.
That's a very niche.
Well, that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing about the people who were moaning about the Forge World moaning.
Oh yeah, see, right? I like that. I like that everyone's got their own
moanception.
So, like, whichever side of the fence you sit on, you do you, brother. You live your journey. That's what I think.
An additional thing to moan about that PDF that they released. They released it it was a black page with white writing.
Yes. John actually, who does most of the artwork for the show, so that's Unicron John, has... Have I missed your question, by the way, Archean? Because I don't know if I saw it. He rewrote it and put it on the print-friendly version. Which
I don't know why didn't they do that? They should have done that.
I agree.
Like, print this page out. It's like all black.
Well, what's really nice about the Warhammer community, I think, is that we're a big family. And something like that happens, and then someone comes along and goes, "Don't worry, lads, I've sorted it for us." And you're like, "You're the hero we need." So we're lucky in that way. That's fine. I like that personally. I like that someone goes, "This is stupid." Someone goes, "I'll fix that. That's fine." Same way that we'll do with comps or other systems. Mm-hmm. We've moved on. Sorry, buddy. Okay. Hello, everyone. By the way, if you're watching you can watch on YouTube or Facebook, which is cool, and we're live on Twitch. That's where I'll be taking the questions. And any info. So yeah, Space Wolves, they get aura abilities now if they complete a task, which are kind of like command abilities from Age of Sigmar. So it's seen a crossover, but effectively what they have to do is you have to slay an enemy character, but then everyone around you gets the buff of the command trait that the single character gets.
So does the commander have to personally slay the enemy character?
Yeah. Yes.
And does it have to be a specific enemy character?
But that's one of the 6 requirements. Each one of the buffs that you get, so the increases require a different set of you have to achieve a thing to generate the buff.
And do you have to randomize what your task is every game?
No, so you pick a warlord trait.
Oh, okay.
And that has an associated thing that you got to do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you complete that,
the warlord trait applies to
it becomes a aura.
6 inches. It becomes an aura for everyone who's 6 inches. So you can have +1 attack, and one of them's really simple. I think the one that gives +1 attack is if your character kills 5 models in a single round of combat. So obviously, if you take a wolf lord,
that's it.
You take him. And then you charge him into like a screen. So that's a term we're going to be talking about later. Mm-hmm. You wipe out 5 cultists or 5 anything. Then all of the other wolf cav that have gone around him have all now got +1 attack each.
Yeah, you need to have quite a tanky character to do that though. One that just doesn't die as soon as you lob him into melee.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring back candidates. People are saying that we should take a suitcase of Forge World over to... So,
smuggle across the border.
Just to retouch on that Forge World thing, some people may not know this, but I went with the Games Workshop team when we went over to Adepticon, not last year,
March 2017.
Yeah, and they hadn't accounted for the massive shift in the exchange rates when they took the Forge World stall over to Adepticon. So if you were literally, so you could be at Adepticon and you could buy a Warlord Titan. And for that Warlord Titan, you would be paying 20% more to buy it there for no other reason than they just printed them as more expensive. Yeah. Than if you just literally stopped where you were, went on your phone and ordered the Warlord Titan on your phone from Forge World at that point. And they were still just selling everything like hotcakes. So just as a point, they've already been doing this, or they're price hiking for a while. But just thought I'd just touch on that. Right, next. So what do you think of that? You happy with that? Or you get your base command trait and you're also able to increase the units around you potentially?
I haven't actually seen it yet because I like to see everything in the context of a book, but yeah, sounds cool.
Sounds cool.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. But interesting that they've had to just...
I think it's a different mechanic than we've seen before, so I think that's always interesting and cool.
Yeah, it's worked differently to one of the command traits. And if we take Age of Sigmar as a line of attack, when we saw things like the Maggot-Kin. So the battle tomes for Age of Sigmar at the beginning of the year were different to the battle tomes that we saw before. So any overarching changes that they do, or systematic changes that they make, for instance, command traits being different for Space Wolves. So it'd be interesting if there's another codex out, like GC Cults, if they have a similar mechanic for command traits, it means we're seeing a new version of codexes inside of a generation, so 8th edition, which I find odd.
Yeah.
Right? Like, stick to a format across the book. That's my thoughts anyway. Right, next up, there were some sweet new Necromunda models. House, I can't remember. Have you seen them? But they've got like, they're amazing cultist models, basically. You get little candles on them.
Oh, yeah, they look like almost like medieval kind of.
Yeah, they've got a name.
Let me find this.
Caldar, that's it, perfectly. And they've got like, they look awesome, and they're like the perfect cultist models. They're kind of the perfect conscript models.
Perfect for Mordheim conversions as well.
They're perfect Mordheim conversions, so that's pretty sweet. And I was wondering if you guys were thinking about picking any of them up.
For Mordheim, yes.
I haven't seen
For
them.
Mordheim, yeah.
Oh, here we go. House Cawdor.
They're the old ones.
Evening, Clemmy B.
That sucks.
High Diagnosis.
Yeah, I might pick up some for a Mordheim Warband.
Okay. I think they look really cool.
Really cool, yeah.
I spell like Cawdor as in like cows in the one that you might find in the field, and then Dar as in Eldar. Yeah, exactly.
I think they look good anyway. And I don't know what other people... I know for a fact that I don't really love cultist models, any that exist out there. So these...
I don't really particularly like the ones that they sell as cultists.
And they're they're normally fairly cheap. Necromunda gangs are normally 20 quid, or in England, 20 quid for 10. So obviously, to international customers, they're probably 3 billion euros and $92 and...
Bit of an underestimate now.
Yeah, like 4 gold doubloons if you're from the
one.
Seychelles. I don't know other currencies very well.
Japan,
probably like 9 sushi rolls.
Depends on whether you like sushi or not.
Yeah. But they look cool, I thought.
Yeah, they do look cool.
Yeah.
I like those.
Alright, Rogue Trader. Did anyone see the new Rogue Trader video?
There's a Rogue Trader video?
There's a Rogue Trader
I've
video.
not been paying attention to this.
Fucking you guys are crap at this. Come on.
You just tell us the news and then we talk about it.
Alright, so yeah, there's a new... Well, you need
I
to have
just
seen
ignore
it.
the Warhammer community site, because I know it's just...
Sales pitches.
I saw a comment thread the other day where someone was saying, quote, ironclads are great. This wasn't even a guy working for the company, it was just a guy.
I think it was a joke,
I
realistically.
don't think it was. I saw the thread.
Okay. Oh, wait. In Necromunda, it's Forge War 2, so non-UK beat... I think Necromunda is sold through Games Workshop, though, so that will avoid the price hike, personally. The bounty hunters and weapon packs for Forge World gangs and such are available at your local store, so they don't get hurt. They don't get hurt by the Forge World hate. Yes. That's what we're calling it, right? Finally, Rogue Trader got a new video. It's really cool. My friend Laura did it. I think it looks ace. There's a new box game, set game. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but I knew that was coming for like a year and a bit. Look like it's going to be a bit like Silver Tower, a bit like one of those Horus Heresy box games.
I forgot Silver Tower was even a thing.
Yeah, like it's going to be like one of those like box set games. You get a bunch of cool models. There's probably going to be like a nod to other models we might get in the future, like we've seen from Silver Tower.
Definitely going to be one of those.
Have you seen that Warhammer Champions?
There's a card game. Look shit.
Does it look shit?
Fair enough. Not interested.
Not interested.
Fair enough.
I like Warhammer.
That's fair.
If I wanted to play a competitive card-based game, I'd play Magic. Yeah, exactly. I don't like established.
I don't
has
like
a
the
massive
mana
company
mechanic.
back.
Huh?
I don't like the mana mechanic.
It doesn't matter.
I don't like, but you don't like the game. It doesn't matter. Play the fucking game.
It's like
you don't play it, right? That's my point.
No, it's fine. It's just like, I'm just saying if I was going to play a competitive card game, I probably wouldn't play Magic because of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't play a competitive card game because I like models.
There you go. Yeah.
That's fucking. If they turn Warhammer into a card game, I'm like, I'm out. This sucks.
That sounds like War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
What, the card game?
Yeah,
I'm not interested.
Yeah, fuck the card game.
Yeah,
that's what I think. If you're out there and you love the card game, in 2 months' time, you will not like the card game. Fucking flavour of the month. That's my thought.
That's what I thought about Shadespire, but it's still apparently going.
Is it?
Yeah, I guess people play Shadespire.
And then finally, some 40k news. The Horus Heresy books have been announced to be coming to a conclusion with the start of the Siege of Terror series of books. Probably, eventually, like all bands coming to an end, but then there'll be the Scouring, which will be the next set of books.
Yeah.
I think the reason, because obviously the Siege of Terror is part of the Horus Heresy, but the only marketing thing I can think is that they think, right, anything over like 75 books, or I think we're up to like 50 or 60 now, like say, hey, would you like to start this series of books? How many is in it? 108. No, I'm good, thanks. But like, you know, knowing someone could pick the story up at the Siege of Terror or pick it up during the Scouring kind of lets them like reset their marketing, so you can sell it as 3 sections, right?
Like a triptych.
Yeah. Like, you know, this section, so people can feel a little bit less underwhelmed. And if people only want to start at the Siege of Terror, there probably will be like a quick recap at the start.
Yeah, I saw James Swallow on Twitter was saying something about the final book or something, which is like, it was named something corny, but apart from that, it was just like, oh,
so
okay,
have you read any of you've read some of the Heresy books before? Yeah. Nick?
I've listened to a couple of chapters of the first one.
For the book club.
On Audible. That's about it.
Forrest Rambo says, basically they got 52 books and released, they need a new series to make it not look silly, which is what I was feeling. Relaunching the Heresy as Siege of Terror is dumb, says Boff89. If you want to start reading the Siege of Terror, then just start reading the first book at the start of Siege. How hard is that? Which is the idea.
Yeah.
And they will, of course, do the Scouring as a new series because it makes it more manageable. So I think it's a management and expectation and sales pitch. So while they're saying it's the end of the Horus Heresy, in no way is it the end of the Horus Heresy, right? So, because 40k now is still technically part of the Horus Heresy, right?
Yeah. So a marketing thing happened.
Yeah, a marketing thing happened, as opposed to a fact. I'm just disseminating bullshit. That's the plan, right? Did you talk about the new Ork F1 car? Did you guys see the new Ork model?
Yes.
What do you guys think?
The Speed Freaks.
Yeah, and we know that October is Orktober.
I didn't like it.
Which is my birthday.
Have you seen on one shot of the car, you can see there's a squig in the passenger seat?
I saw that.
With
a fucking goggle. Yes. That looks amazing. You're just there like, I've got you.
We do need to have a Grotz versus Nurglings game at some point.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
That would be really fun. Really powerful. I'm really excited about it. Again, until we know the rules and however it works, whoever designed that car did some serious homework, says Coda Ricci. Why? How come? Like, did we miss something on that?
Maybe it's quite technically accurate.
Is it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's
maybe you just
like
did
race
some
cars and
lots
like
of market research on what players wanted.
Yeah, there were some complaints that the wheels were very like non-40k. I know for a fact
they do look like probably like
race cars.
F1 car wheels.
Do you know? Does anyone know? You know the Taurox Prime for Astra Militarum?
Yeah.
So previously, that like in like build stages or like design stages, that actually had wheels and didn't have tracks. But Alan Merritt, who was the Tsar, and if anyone remembers the 6 years of like utterly awful Games Workshop, that's Alan Merritt's fault specifically. Just to lay blame. I mean, there was a bunch of other.
When you say
right?
the Tsar, do you mean like the top dog?
He was the IP Tsar, so his job was to go around and just be like, you know, someone would paint an ultramarine not exactly the right blue, or dare to say that.
And would he whip them?
Yeah, no, he'd just be like, "How fucking dare you!" Boom, you know, and I think the Taurox had the tracks put on because he was like, "We don't put fucking wheels on the Imperial vehicles. What the fuck?" And then, you know,
I thought it looked better with wheels.
Allegedly. yeah. Well, it does look
Wasn't
better
there a
with
Forge World kit with wheels for a Taurox?
Huh?
There was some kind of other kit that allowed you to convert the Taurox to have wheels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he ruled with an iron fist, but not necessarily with an iron mind. So he wouldn't like know when they could like take the piss. If that makes sense. So they would slip things through, I imagine. But yeah, that's just some cool hot goss. But so now there are some really like under Alan, you would never have had those wheels allowed to be out.
Yeah.
But now they've got some like real speed racer wheels. What do we think about that in the
Hot
war
wheels
setting?
leading the way.
Well,
Ork's kind of always been the goofy comic relief, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
they'd use anything.
How dare you, sir? They are the Green Tide, and they will slay all before them.
I do love the idea. I do love the idea of Orks having like a racing track and like Orks in the crowd. I love the idea.
You could convert one to put it on a Hot Wheels track.
Yeah.
There you
a
go.
Hot Wheels track.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Build it and like put like a little
fucking scale.
Scale electrics.
Scale electrics up your Orks.
Woo, yeah.
That would be amazing if you could somehow build that into your table, like with scenery and everything. Like it was all static. And
You
then
mean
just
like
turned it
model
on.
trains?
Yeah, and then it was just going around as you were playing 40k.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do that. You could get like the chassis of a model train, put it on the bottom of your Ork, or just embed it inside, and then just have it going around.
Wouldn't that be fucking cool?
Well, we could do that and say it's the commentators.
Huh?
competitive games. Around the edge of the table, you've got this train going around. It's just for commentators.
It's the commentary box. The commentators.
The commentator box. There you go. It's going around the table.
That would just make it super weird and awkward.
It's awkward with an orc.
Nice.
All right, Tom, I can't believe you did that. So yeah, awkward. So yeah, Ork's coming out in October. That's really exciting. Definitely a couple of new models at least. There's a bike that's been leaked as well. They haven't showcased that in like beautiful detail. But
I predicted the bike, didn't I?
You did predict the bike. Yeah, predicted. Oh, fucking Christ! It's hard to say words, right? So, anything else come up in news and information over the past week or so? Before we move on to the main editorial piece of our show today.
No.
Not that confusing.
We haven't even noticed most of the normal news.
I know. What have you guys been doing? Actually doing Warhammer?
No.
I've just been cheating at AOS and building Chinorks.
Good. Karl Marx says, Gorka Walker is back. Witness me. Come on, there's got to be some great Mad Max conversions going on.
Man.
Yeah. But what's going to be terrible is if everyone gets really excited about building like whole truck. Because trucks for Orcs at the minute fucking suck. Like,
they are bad.
Battle wagons are pretty bad. Like, all of the vehicles are shit, like, realistically. So they bring these vehicles out, so they have to do a big improvement on all of those things, or just a huge price reduction, points-wise, for those to all be viable. Then you can maybe have a cool Mad Max news theme.
The car did look like it had a base, which I'm not a fan of. How about you guys?
It looks like it reminds me of, the Slaneshi Chariot? The Combine Harvester thing.
Well, that fits on a base. I don't mind that on base, but
it's just going to stab
vehicles on bases don't necessarily work. Like there's somebody who works at Games Workshop who has an Ultramarine army with all of his vehicles on big square bases.
Yes, I actually know who he is.
Ridiculous.
I mentioned his name for several reasons. Mainly, I think he's a bellend.
My Blood Angels army may not be. All his vehicles on big square.
He has them on square bases.
Mine are rectangles. Does that count?
That counts.
It's the same thing.
I'm not a fan, so I'm sorry.
I mean, they're not the same thing.
I like the scene.
Someone out there is going to be like,
I like having my Rhino driving over like something.
Okay,
all right. I'm never going to play with them, but they look cool.
I mean, I've got a vehicle on a base here.
Yeah, how dare
but
you?
But it needs the base to stand up.
Yeah, well, I need the base for scenic, like, diorama.
No, you guys, no, I disagree. All right. So, should we get to the main subject of the day? Hold on. Some guys have said that there are some stuff that we missed. Specifically,
I just need I need to quickly run to the toilet.
All right, well, that's fine. You can just
we can have some
mute
alone
your
time.
microphone, Nikos. You know how to do it on your. Just do it on your belt pouch. We will just chat to everyone because some people are watching on YouTube right now.
No, what kind of mad people do that?
If you're doing that, we actually can't see you.
Oh, you've gone that way.
What your comments, and if you're watching on Facebook, then we also can't see your comments either. So just come and join us on Twitch. Although feel free to leave comments. Like Gavin Heritage has said hello.
Oh, hey, Gavin. Gavin was from a Canadian team. Oh, a couple of things I need to put correct.
Yeah. Some corrections. Editorial corrections.
So there were only 2 non-Canadians on my Canadian team.
Right.
But there were 3 people from the UK, but only 2 of them were non-Canadians. So Ben's Canadian. And also, Mikey sent me a correction. I can't remember what it was, so let's get it while Nikos is off. 1 second. Through all these people I message. Here you go. So, okay. So you know when I said last week about the endgame scoring?
Yeah.
So Max played Neil in round 1, who was the guy who was the stand-in.
Right.
And then someone else dropped out at the end of round 1. Mm. So Neil, who was the stand-in, stopped standing in.
Yeah.
And then you had an even number of players.
Mm-hmm.
So because Max played the stand-in, they had to just tie-break.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was just, that was all it was.
Okay.
And that's all the editorial corrections.
That's a great correction. I'm glad. Yeah. It's nice that we just do honest commentary and comment.
Yeah.
Like, and if anyone's listening, by the way, the only reason we're able to bring you everything honestly and fairly and without any, like we don't have any sponsors apart from the people on Twitch who subscribe and the people on Patreon who are Patreons. So they allow us to do this for free. So that means Tom gets to do editorial corrections, and we get to be honest about it.
And I get to say contentious shit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. As do I.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I'm awake. I'm just watching. I'm just interested. Can somebody direct me to the Ork bike leak picture, please? Please and thank you. I've seen the War Bookies one.
That is the...
There you go, Nick trying not to pull out the...
What you trying not to pull out?
Trying not to pull out.
Hi, Lance Allen.
All of the
who's
electrical
watching on
equipment.
Facebook right now. Hope you're well.
There you go.
It's going to be cool to see how the Facebook and YouTube things have gone. Some people are talking. Adam Hughes is currently talking on... Oh, that's Chuckabutty. He's talking on YouTube, as is Shadow Fox and Brian from Neword. So, interesting. People all over. And Apollo Syndrome also.
Syndrome.
People have got great names. Right. So, Warhammer terminology, Warhammer 40,000 terminology specifically.
Give us words.
Giving words.
Give us words.
We are going to talk about this, and this is not going to be the be all and end all. It's going to be an exploration. So in Warhammer 40,000, there are sometimes a bunch of buzzwords which people don't understand, or that are just thrown about by people. Some people use them wrongly. Some people don't really know what they mean. I definitely don't know what some of them mean. So like there's loads to explore. Some of them are holdovers from previous editions, which are probably defunct now. So it might be worth identifying what they are.
Yep.
There's probably a bunch of new terms which might exist, and there might also be a bunch of cleaning up we can do with some of this terminology. The reason that I'd like to do this show, and I'm hoping what we get from it, is over the next couple of weeks, the Honest Wargamer can put out like a really healthy conversational narrative, either in video format and possibly also in a text document as well, that people can then say, they can send to their friends who are new. Yeah, and they say, read this will give you a good indication of what some things are. Well, there's other things I'd like to approach in the next couple of weeks is when we're talking about unit roles in the game. And so identifying what some of these terms mean might help us as well. Yeah? Anything you want to add to that?
I think that's a good summary.
Okay, good.
That's good.
Right. Do those Wargamer we're affiliates already on Twitch, but we're just waiting to see if we're going to become partners. If we become partners, we can use cool little emotes and also
spam them in the Warhammer TV chat. And spam them in the Warhammer TV chat.
In any chat that you want to, yeah?
Any
chat
that's
on
as good
Twitch.
That's as good as any other choice. That's for sure.
Games and the words trends. Right. Right, so I've got a list of things, and I know you guys have got a list of things to talk about. But before we get to the terminology, I know I've just said we're going to be doing the terminology now. I went on this huge exploration of like different posts from different gaming systems. I was on like a Magic the Gathering one, and I was on I've been on some 40k ones. I've been on war games for military. I've been on classical war games. So there's loads to cover, and I'm thinking one of the things that I'm going to do over the next few weeks on Patreon is start a reading list. So I'm going to try and read a couple of things a week. So a bit like Oprah and Obama. I don't know if anyone else has reading lists, but they're the only two people I know who have reading lists. And I'm going to put those on to Patreon because I think that's going to be really interesting. Because I told Nick Tom before you got here, I was telling Nick, I'm like, I've got so into it. There's like going to be some cool shit to read, I think. And some of you might think,
I was like, I don't really like to read. So.
Yeah. And some of you might think, well, that's a bit highbrow just for a fucking game. But I think maybe not, because some of the stuff I've read was amazing. Val, one of your ETC team teammates, who's just fucking cool as shit,
He's
right?
cool, dude.
He sent me in a really interesting article called Playing to Win, which I'm going to put in the Twitch chat.
Who wrote it?
Right now. It's written by... Huh?
It wasn't Val.
It wasn't Val.
Val's fine. If Val wrote
it's written by David Serlin.
Okay, where's it on?
And it's not a Warhammer. It's not Playing to Win for Warhammer. It's Playing to Win.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. I think
that
just sounded like
any game then.
Gaming, competitive gaming. So that's what I mean. There might be like a reading list of things that are to do with this. So just thought I'd talk about that.
Yeah.
Alpha Divine says, I am the most... Alpha Divine says, I am the most going to compare you to Oprah or Michelle Obama. So that's what he thinks. And I've not read that wrong at all. You definitely didn't put that in there. Screw you, Alpha Divine. Right. So before I do that, can I throw a little idea out to you guys?
Yeah,
Twitch chat, YouTube,
sure.
Facebook. So there is a really famous article in Magic the Gathering by Mike Flores.
This is game design one.
No, it's a gaming term.
Yeah.
Which I thought would be really fun. I think probably after we do the terminology, another show we can do in the future is a list of questions you ask yourself before you turn up to a game.
There's a bunch of really famous MTG articles, actually.
There's
loads,
yeah. This is a pretty big one because it's the question asked in it is who is the beatdown? Right?
Yeah.
And it basically means in a game, who is the attacker and who is the defender? Now that works a little bit differently in Magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like you might be able to last. You might be a late game sort of deck build, Nikos, whereas Tom, you might be an aggressive,
like a control deck.
Yeah, all right. Whereas you might be like an aggressive first, and in 40k, you might be an Alpha Strike list, in which case you're the attacker. Yeah, or you might be more Alpha Strike than Nikos is. Therefore, you become the attacker and you become the defender. And the idea of who is the beatdown is a great question to ask yourself before you start playing the game. When I read it, I was like, this is very applicable to our game system. In who has got the advantage on the tabletop. And then some of that comes down to, for 40k especially, who has the advantage in the parameters of how you're going to win. I think before you ask who is the beatdown, we ask, how am I going to win this game of 40k? Am I going to win it on scenarios, potentially because my army can last longer, a defensive army, or am I going to try and wipe out my opponent's units and win by a tabling?
So this is the thing, so the aggressor isn't always necessarily the one that has the advantage.
Yes.
Right. So let's say I've got an aggressive list and I'm playing into let's say I'm playing into a Nurgle Plaguebearer list, right? Traditionally a very defensive kind of list. Doesn't really die very fast. So therefore I am naturally the aggressor. But if I'm not killing anything, I'm not going to win the game, right?
Yes.
So it's...
No, aggressor, attacker and defender doesn't mean aggressor.
No. Oh, okay, so what's...
So as an example, like... well, this is where it gets really interesting, because this is why I'm so excited about the show today. Because how do you define that? Like, we probably in the future we're going to have to start giving loads of examples, of different army builds. Like with the Custodes bike build, so 16 Custodes bikes for 40k. You would think of that as a hyper aggressive list.
It can play either.
Exactly, it can play either, and that's my point. So while it can be an aggressive list, that isn't the point. When you put it down on the tabletop, you look at your opponent's army.
Make a value judgment.
And you make a value judgment. Am I in this situation? So who is the breakdown? I think
beatdown.
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 Who is the beatdown? Thank you. So who is the attacker in the situation, and who is the defender? So that's the question you ask yourself when you get to the tabletop.
I think I've got an example involving Custodes bikes.
Please do.
So it's a very famous game in recent 40k history. It was the Jeff Robinson versus Alex Harrison Invitational.
And that was about who's going first.
Yeah, so Jeff had lots of Custodes bikes and Alex had Tower Gun.
Hammerheads.
And cheating on himself.
So I would say, he had Power of the Cheating. Power of the Cup, the Holy Cup.
I'm not getting involved.
He had the Holy Cup. I would say I would have said in that game Alex was the aggressor and Jeff was defensive because he was hiding his bikes quite a lot and jumping on objectives and trying to win that way.
Well, normally it depends on often it can depend on who's going first. So it basically could be like, let's say you have two kind of, I don't really want to use the word squishy because that's moving into the glossary terms like straight away, but I'm going to use that anyway because it works. Let's say you have two squishy lists with high damage output and very little terrain on the board. If one army goes first, that army is the aggressor because it gets to hit and wipe loads of stuff.
So that's where it gets really interesting. Yes, it does get to hit, and we'll get onto like what an alpha strike is, and what a beta strike is. It does get to engage first, but realistically, the question before you ask who is the beatdown is how are you gonna? What's the parameters for winning? For instance, So who's your friend who won the heat with the Nurgle army?
Scott.
So while I'm sure he would have done some damage, effectively he won those games that he won for the heat by going and sitting on objectives and being defensive.
And you can check the empirical data for that as well. Like he didn't have a particularly high points killed ratio.
Yes.
He just sat there.
So when he identified that actually attacking was a secondary for him. Right? Whereas his opponent should always go, he's the defender in this situation, and I have to attack. He's a very good defender.
Building a list that's inherently attacking and can't defend is kind of a bad way to go in 40k.
No, it's not. No, again, it's not designing for offense. It's not about offensive versus defense.
But if you can design for defense, surely you can design for offense as well.
You can, but that isn't like I don't think that's the point of the article. The point of the article.
Oh, okay. Going back to the article.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point of the article is when you get to the tabletop, look at your army, look at their army, and ask yourself,
how do you win the game?
Yes, because while you can build for offense, so let's say you and Nick both build for offense to be offensive. When you get to the tabletop, one of you might be more attacky than the other. Yeah. Right, or better at attacking.
It's weird. I don't. It's difficult for me to actually work with that because often it's entirely dependent on who's going first, on who is the aggressor.
But you can't guarantee who's going first, right?
Right.
So you might deploy, in a non-attacking way because their attack is better. So you want them to go first. Does that make sense?
But here's the thing: if you are deployed, let's say you have to deploy in a non-attacking way because you're worried that they're going to go first because their attack is better.
Yeah.
And you've got an army that is better at attacking than it is defending. Often that's suboptimal because you're just going to die and lose anyway. So you have to play as if you are going to go first and you are going to hit them before they get to hit you.
Okay, really interesting.
I don't know how that interacts because I haven't seen the article. So
well, okay, yeah, but I think that's a great conversation to maybe have in the future, or for people to ask themselves, and for us to that's the first one because that's something that isn't currently used in 40k, right? And maybe it isn't used for good example, for a good reason. But I like that concept because I sometimes do that. I look at armies, and when we get to some of the units that we're going to talk about, or maybe the way to terminology units.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a bully unit, right?
I've just got a good example for that. So there was a game back at a tournament called Death or Glory. I think it was in 2014, down in London, way between Dave Simcox and Franco Marufa. And they were playing on the final table, top table for the tournament. Yeah. And it was with the old Screamer style list. So what this list did was it gave its unit a bunch of buffs, which meant it had a 2+3 rollable invulnerable save. So if you went first, you can make this unit impervious.
Yes.
And the way it worked was, Franco was running this list, and Dave was running something shooty.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave played and deployed as if he was going to seize the initiative. Because if he doesn't seize the initiative, he loses the game anyway.
So at that point, he established that he had to be the attacker.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he is more offensive or non-offensive. He looked at the opponent's army and he established the role he had to take.
Right, that's fine. Yeah.
It
doesn't matter whether necessarily you're going to successfully be able to get that role.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. But his only path to victory
was by getting that.
By deciding that he was the beatdown.
Yeah.
That he had to take that role on, no matter how risky that might be.
Yeah.
Right? It might be well, I have to get the first turn, or I have to get the seize, or whatever it might be. And sometimes, and I thought that's a great way of us thinking about, at deployment, it's a really quick fire, kind of look at your opponent's army, look at your army, and ask those questions. Maybe 40k is more complex than that, but I just thought I'd just bring that term to you guys and see what you thought about it. Nick, you got any ideas?
I guess I was just thinking of my most recent experience at playing 40k in a tournament, the Hellstorm event. In my first game against the Death Watch, I deployed as if he was going to be I deployed defensively, yeah, because I had my plasma pod in the sky, and I had all my scouts hidden, and then my shooty bunker hidden somewhere in a building. So if I went first, I couldn't see anything. I would just be manoeuvring into position.
So here's a good example to think about. So Dark Eldar Ravagers, Drakari Ravagers even. Most of the time I see Drakari players placing them in reserve. And they do come onto you, they hit you, but it's about making sure they don't get hit first.
Yeah.
That makes I don't know how that kind of fits into, because you're playing aggressively defensively. You're undertaking a defensive action so that you can play aggressive.
But as a piece of theory, and as something probably for us to explore in the future, maybe off air or on air, I love that there might be a bunch of questions or terminology that we can ask ourselves when we get to a tabletop to better understand how maybe we can get to the end of that game, which is effectively, how do I win this game?
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of works. I don't know how well it relates because I haven't seen an article with tempo. So tempo is effectively having momentum on your side. It's difficult to explain.
Which is another term in there as well. I got a bunch there. This really excited. Yeah.
So let's say I'm playing Hearthstone. I don't know if anyone plays Hearthstone. You have a control mage deck against an aggro hunter deck. And the hunter deck is basically early game. It's going to smash your face in early on. But if you get past up to turn 6, then the game starts to swing in favour of the mage player, even if they're down on HP points. So, for example, when you played Knights at the GT on stream, so the Knight player racked up quite a lot of points early. But the moment he starts to lose Knights, you are starting to win that game. So even though you were down 5 or 6 points in turn 3, you were still looking more likely to go on and win the game because you had tempo on your side and you were
not
pushing.
According to the commentators.
I muted the commentators because I didn't want to.
You were getting frustrated.
I didn't even listen to them because I didn't know what copyright law was. So
I'm big on fish.
Yeah.
Tempo is a thing
Yeah.
as well, as another magic term. And I think there might be a bunch of terms that we can bring over for discussion from other gaming systems as well. Let's look at some League of Legends terms. Hearthstone's another one. WoW's another term. There's loads in there. And some of them have naturally evolved in 40k, and some of them from established competitive games you could probably bring in to build a lexicon and then take that and then narrow them down. Like screens and bubble wrap mean the same thing effectively.
Yeah.
We're just really rowing over like the dimensions.
And I've got here slingshot and springboard, which are effectively the same thing, just applied differently.
Yeah, exactly. All right, but I just thought that'd be worth.
I don't know if screen and bubble wrap are the same thing.
Well, okay, all right, maybe
But it's a similar thing, just different applications.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone, by the way, who's watching. Thanks very much for joining us. I thought there would be a bunch of really cool ideas to talk about in the future about the start of a game and some questions you can ask yourself. Maybe even to identify how armies work. Is it an aggressive army or something? But we'll move on from there. So, let's talk out some glossary terms. So, our glossary. Some of the terms, some of the words. Have you got anyone that you really want to start with?
Yes.
Oh.
Deep strike. Oh, you've got one.
No.
I didn't hear you. Sorry, bud.
No.
Because I'm just loud. I want to start with deep strike and feel no pain.
So let's start with deep strike then.
Okay.
What do you think it means?
To bring something in from reserve somewhere else on the table.
Okay.
Later on in the game after deployment.
All right. Nikos, would you agree with that synopsis?
Withholding a unit, to then...
There's the distinction between deep strike and outflank as well. So outflank is when it comes on within a certain distance of the board edge, and deep strike is just when it comes on anywhere.
Okay, but would you not say that there also has to be, like, would you not add usually outside of 9 inches of the enemy?
Usually, yes, but it depends on certain units, because in each unit entry it has...
It does, but like almost always it's like, and that's why I would say, do these do a standard deep strike? As in, do they arrive from reserve or off the board somewhere else on the board? Like, for instance, redeploys. So that would be where a unit is on the board, but it moves somewhere else on the board. Usually still ends up within 9 inches, and I often describe that as a deep strike. Do you think I'm saying that wrong?
I think it's different because there are certain stratagems which allow you to redeploy. So deploying infers that you are placing it somewhere else where you could have originally deployed it.
So redeploy and deep strike we're going to put in different camps as terms.
And then deep strike and outflank are just two versions of the same thing.
So explain outflank, and is outflank currently in the 40k 8th edition rule set?
There are certain units that can do something that I would call outflank.
Bulgarins can do it with that stratagem.
Knights.
And Imperial Guard can do it with that
Imperial Knights can do it. Wolfen can do it.
Hold on, Wolf Brother 41's got a question. Hello there, sorry, but I do not get the subject. Is it rules terminology or gamers dialect? We're discussing gamers dialect.
Gamers dialect.
Yes. Yes. But I would say gamers terminology is another one as well. Yeah. The language of 40k, and potentially, I'm not saying creating, but maybe like refining and having a kind of like baseline. Because I know that would be helpful for us talking on the show about armies or things, but a baseline of terminology. But anyway, sorry, Karen, what you guys saying?
Talking about outflank. Can Knights do it?
Yeah, can Knights do it?
There's a stratagem that allows you to do it.
Wow. So describe outflank for me.
So that is when you bring a unit on at the end of one of your movement phases, usually outside of 9 inches of an enemy unit, and usually within a certain distance of the board edge.
Okay, so like a deep strike, but with a requirement.
With a requirement of how close you have to be to the board edge.
So outflank actually is a subgroup.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's deep strike, but on the board edge, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Orc commandos can do it, can't they?
He could have done it in your game against the Knights.
Could he?
With the Gallant. That's what I think he was doing in previous games.
So Unicorn John has subscribed for 10 months.
Oh, he's got a one up.
He says 10 months as a slave. Which is
Ooh.
Orc players, man. Yeah, they don't care about anything. Right, so deep strike. It reserves from. It's a unit that's in reserve, arrives from reserve, so it's not deployed on the board. Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, things can also go into reserve at certain points, so things can then arrive. And we're saying a standard deep strike is outside of 9 inches.
Yeah.
The reason I ask this is because if I was to arrive at the tabletop and say, "Hey Tom, can your unit do a standard deep strike from reserve?" You could answer, yes, it does. A non-standard deep strike would be, well, actually, it can get closer than 9 inches.
Yeah.
Right?
So if we talk about deep strike as that, so when we're talking about redeploy, what do you mean by that? Do you mean things that's like, say you've got a mob of orc boys that uses dad jump to jump across the board? Is that what you mean by redeploy? Or do you mean traditional infiltration redeploy?
No,
or do you mean
but then see,
phantasm
it's
redeploy?
all words that mean the same thing.
Exactly. Well,
Redeploy is to take a unit and redeploy it from where it is. Yeah, like it's a non-move movement.
right.
So there's the Eldar stratagem where you can deploy, and then change the deployment. Or
Is that a
there's
redeploy?
Dad jump, or like Veil of Darkness for Necrons, where you're on the board and you change position on the board during the game. So it's outside of deployment phase.
Yes.
So they're not.
Well, it can happen in the deployment phase. It can happen in the movement phase, like a redeployment.
But you can't jump in the deployment phase.
No, I know. I do recognise that the word deployment and the deployment phase seem to be like at odds with each other. But for me, and I think because what I'm trying to do is narrow down how many words we have for basically what mean the same thing.
But the problem is, what happens when two people use the same word to mean different things?
Well, this is why we have a ongoing conversation and then a definition of what we mean.
Because when I say redeploy,
what
what I mean
infiltrate,
is,
like
that's fine. Yeah, we all know that.
Like, so, but what does that mean?
It means to take a unit after deployment, but before the first round begins, and place it within or outside of a certain distance of another unit.
Okay, but then that's a very specified type of just redeploying.
It's like deep strike before the game.
But it's a very specified version of redeployment.
Right. So now I have to break that down.
Yeah, and that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm saying, is there an overarching term that can basically mean that, and then there can be some subcategories because unless you are getting super into the minutia, like if I say, hey, can you infiltrate something? You say, no, I can't. But you can redeploy something, which is different to infiltrate. If you specifically know the terminology, Tom, but someone new, which is what the purpose of this show is, doesn't know the specifics, they can get a little bit caught out. And then you end up in that situation 3 turns later where you do a thing, and then your opponent's like, I didn't know you could do that. It's like, well, I did say, well, I don't know what all of the terms mean.
Well, this is the thing. So what I do is, when I'm putting my rangers in infiltrate, I say they're going in appear unbidden. It's effectively this.
Yes. Yeah.
Because otherwise it just sounds like Eldar rubbish.
It doesn't.
It does, like no one knows what it means.
So what you've got is deep striking, unit from reserve, and they drop onto the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Typically, a standard deep strike is outside of 9 inches,
mm-hmm.
right? Outflank, a type of
deep strike,
deep striking, but usually requires the unit to be within a board edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you have redeploying units, which is moving them outside of the standard way that you would move a unit in the game. So that could be to jump from orcs. Mm-hmm. That could also be a pre-game move like infiltrates.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure whether I would class infiltrate as a redeploy, because infiltrating, you just deploy them. There's no change in their position at any point. Like I say, this unit is infiltrating. They're never deployed.
So how is that different to a deep strike then?
Well,
it's just a quantification of deep strike because
it could potentially go in the deep strike.
It has to happen at a specific time. There was an argument on one of the Eldar sub forums about, what if I choose not to put my rangers in if I choose not to infiltrate my rangers after saying I'm going to infiltrate them, can I bring them on from reserve?
There's no.
No, you can put them in reserve, but you can't get them out again.
So you think that the term infiltrate, if
I don't think it's a redeploy, because
I think it's a deploy.
They're never on the board, and then they come on. They don't go on the board and then appear somewhere else. They just
it's deep striking.
During. I think
it's a form of deep strike. You just do it outside of the normal sequence.
Well, that's what's nice, because realistically, reducing the amount of words we have to use is quite useful. So infiltrating is a type of deep striking.
But again, I think if you were saying to your opponent at the start of the game, this unit of Alpha Legion Corn Berserkers is going to deep strike.
Yeah,
that's confusing to them. You'd have to.
But that's why you need to be very careful when you're using terms like infiltrate, deep strike, and outflank, because the connotations of outflank and deep strike are very, very different. Outflank infers restrictions that deep strike doesn't have, as does infiltrate.
So infiltrate definitely has to be a word. That's what we're saying.
Yes,
and you don't think it's a type of deployment?
Not redeployment. No.
It's not redeployment. It's a type of deployment.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Just like deep strike is a type of deployment.
So just all movement. We've now split into 4 words. We've got 5. We've got deployment. Mm-hmm. We've got redeployment, which is redeploying a unit during the deployment phase. You have infiltrate, which is moving a unit after the first turn, but after
Placing
deployment.
a unit after deployment, first turn begins.
Yeah. You've got deep striking, which is dropping a unit on the board from reserves outside of 9 inches. Standard. That's the standard, but it's good to ask, can you do a standard deep strike or a different deep strike?
Yeah.
And then you've got outflanking.
It's also worth pointing out that Infiltrate is at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins. So it'll happen after seizing, but before you actually start the movement phase.
And you also have pre-game moves. Is that infiltrating?
So it's a scouting.
Scouting. But that is an old term and not current. Like,
Just like Deep Strike and Infiltrate and Outflank.
well, Deep Strike is now, like, you literally stick them up in teleportariums.
Yes.
Deep Strike is an in-game usage.
But it's not an official rules.
It is.
Is it?
You literally deep strike units, yeah.
Is it in the rulebook?
No, it's not. So they no longer have USR, so Universal Special
Right.
Rules. But on data sheets...
Yes, but
I mean,
it's not
there
normally called Deep Strike. It's normally called, like, Warp Spider Teleport or something like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know.
So
But
Deep Strike is just a universal term that everyone uses, but it's not an official one.
Okay, good. That's
So,
good.
also, so we've got Scout as well.
So what are we saying as Scout? Because Space Marine Scouts, you deploy them in the deployment phase, but they can go outside your deployment phase. So I would say that's like an advanced deployment.
Yeah.
Hi,
uh,
Minis, and thanks
because
for
like
subscribing.
are you guys talking about a Scout move? So
Yes,
you
a
deploy
scout
them,
move.
and then before the game
Before
begins,
pre-game
you
move.
make a move.
Like Retributors. This is a battle, not Retributors.
Okay.
Repulsors.
So is that a Scout move,
Marines.
and then a Space Marine Scout? So I think Nurglings have the same.
Nurglings do.
You deploy them outside your deployment zone, but they don't make a move for the game.
Scout Sentinels do from Astronomical.
They do.
So that's a Scout move.
Yeah.
Whereas Scouts, Space Marine Scouts, I would say that's an advanced deployment.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've not heard that term before.
It's
That's
new.
how I
Well,
would.
this is the thing. So you just
Yeah.
make it up as you go along, and then it sounds
Well,
alright.
but
So
it's
just
important to like. So then, and Wolf Brother says Scout is the Scout move, so free move before the first turn. No, again, like I think what would be nice is to try to free ourselves of old gaming terminology, because it's going to become a little bit useless when talking to new gamers, right?
So what do we do with things like Deep Strike, Outflank, Redeploy, and
No, I
Infiltrate?
think they're great words and terms that people already understand in the community and exist. Yeah, and people are going to hear. So what do they mean, and what do people use them as, right? So some people, and even me included, will sometimes say deep striking. Well, really, what I mean is what you guys are saying, infiltrated.
Yes.
Yeah, right. But if that makes sense. So I think we've got six terms there now, which is cool for movement. That's all for movement. So
What it's we're gonna have more for movement.
Yeah, there's gonna be more for
I
movement.
guess this is just for
that's what
putting
those,
things on the board.
So that's what those things mean currently.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then feel no pain, Tom. Right, so
Feel
that's
no
another
pain.
term you guys might hear gamers say sometimes. So
Yeah.
you would say, I've got a unit of plague bearers, and they have a 5-up save, and they 5-up invuln save is what you might hear them say, and that means an invulnerable save that isn't affected by AP.
Yes.
That's what that means. But then the 5-up after damage save
Yes.
is what some people might call a feel no
Feel
pain.
no pain. Correct.
So do you want to explain what feel no pain?
I think you just did.
Well, I did. So feel no pain is an old term, but no longer relevant for 8th edition 40k. Yeah.
It's just a roll after you failed your save to see if you mitigate damage.
Yeah. And the way that the after damage saves work, and I think that's what we're all calling them,
Yes.
right? Is because the save happens after damage has been determined. So if a weapon does 1 damage, so you fail your save and it does 1 damage, you then can make a 5-up save against them.
Yeah. It is slightly misleading because it's not a save.
Well, no, it's not. It's like a reduction. It's an after damage
Right.
reduction,
So
right?
you can't mitigate it with things like Death Hex or Jinx from Eldar, where you reduce or increase the saving profile of a unit by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a save.
Could it just be an after damage roll?
Yeah, there you go. After damage roll is good.
After damage roll.
Yeah.
After damage roll. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so you think after damage save is wrong, but after damage roll is the
Because
right
that
way
could
to describe it.
potentially be misleading if it's called a save.
Yeah, that's true, because it's not a save.
If rules
No
come
saves,
back.
may be, like Collects Assassins, where it says no saves may be taken against this.
But
or
you can still
Shieldbreaker
roll,
missiles.
but you can still do an after damage roll.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Correct.
Perfect. Yeah.
Do we need... Necrons have a very unique rule which is similar to an after damage roll.
Yeah.
Obviously quantum shielding, but we don't really need to define that because it's basically the same thing.
Well, interestingly, John's just pointed out in the chat that Disgusting Resilient or Pain Boy Aura are feel no pain it as a damage prevention. So it would be an after damage prevention. So an ADP.
ADP.
An ADP.
Not ADR?
What's that?
Well, that's the after damage roll.
after damage roll, but ADP. Well, they
sounds
write
better?
about it
I
in
like
the book as an after damage prevention.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like after damage rolls off the tongue a bit better. But,
Yeah, after damage roll.
ADR sounds better than ADP.
J.R. Hartlepool points out that an after damage roll could be a sandwich.
yeah,
Yes,
sounds good.
that
After
could
damage
be-
roll,
that
then
could
do
be
it.
Confusing. Once you've taken a lot of damage, you have to have a roll.
What about a damage prevention roll?
There you go.
They have a 5-up damage prevention roll.
DPR. That sounds like
DPR.
something.
DPR.
That sounds like something you might find in your car.
Yeah, a DPR, a 5+ DPR.
Okay, are we going for DPR?
I think DPR. I like DPR.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So a 5-up DPR. Good. Interesting. Right.
It just has DP in it. I've got that.
So that's Feel No Pain, which is, so if you hear that, what they really mean is that they have a 5+ DPR,
Yes.
damage prevention roll.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And what that might mean, and what that means is if I take 1 damage on a Plague Bearer, I roll a 5+, and I've prevented that damage. What's interesting is, because damage can't carry over, if I do D6 damage and I roll 4, I would have to roll 4 dice for that single model, and pass them all in order for that to live.
Because unlike Age of Sigmar, the damage doesn't carry over.
Doesn't carry over. Yeah, absolutely. So if
Apart
you hear
from
someone's
some unique weapons.
Like flails on Dark Angels.
and mortal wounds.
And mortal wounds.
Yeah. Although I like those. With my all silver power armor army, Chaos and Imperium combined, every piece of power armor you've ever seen in silver.
Capture all Marines.
I was like, those Dark Angels need painted up a bit silver, don't they, with their flails?
Everyone said, if it was Iron Hands. No.
Diagnosis. This discussion is meant to clarify abbreviations, not make up new ones. I think their whole idea is.
But we can't work out what it is.
Yeah, it is. If we can't work out what it is, it's too ambiguous as a term anyway. So it's nice to define it, right? I think. But people don't have to adopt it. That's fine.
Just keep doing your after damage save, which is
just
misleading and
just
incorrect.
have real confusing fights with your friends. What are you saying? Yeah, just speak in French.
Don't get saves against it. Yeah, but it's not a save.
Yeah.
But it's called an after damage save.
What the hell? Okay. Next up, screens and bubble wrap. People may have heard these before.
Ooh.
Screens and bubble wrap.
Screens.
Let's put them together. Nikos, do you want to take this?
So,
You
I
just
would
corrected
say a
something.
screen is a line of typically cheap infantry that you put out between your army and your opponent's army in an attempt to block them getting into a certain area on the board or attacking certain units of yours.
Yes, I would agree with that. Tom, do you have anything to add?
No. That sounds about right.
There's also
Oh,
bubbles.
right.
There's also the word chaff. You may also hear as well.
Shit,
but I
you
think
have to take.
That's kind of a different role.
I
I'd
think
say.
that's
different to screen.
See, what's interesting is
Yeah.
chaff does the role of screening of bubble wrap.
Because they're otherwise useless Veges models.
Yeah, chaff is like a unit. This is why when we talked about doing this last week, I think what's interesting is that there's a unit type, chaff, and it does the role of bubble wrap and screening. Yeah, because chaff can also do the role of capturing objectives.
So a great example of chaff. Well, a unit that I've used as chaff that isn't a screen is my Chaos Spawn that I've used before. That's
because it's a single model.
You could use it as a screen if there's two big bits of line of sight blocking terrain, and there's
that are impassable.
The spawn could fit in the middle and block. But if it's just out in the open, it can't operate as a screen because it's a model on its own.
Yeah, and bubble wrapping and screening, because Wolf Brothers put in here not only infantry, I traditionally think of something like cultists, right, or conscripts, but you could do it with rhinos.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could create a screen of rhinos that means that you're not going to get to those things behind the rhinos. So, like, it isn't all, and rhino is not chaff, like, but it has a certain role, and that's why I think it's really interesting at the end of this conversation start talking about unit type roles. So chaff is a unit type, but it performs differently.
I think chaff is a unit that isn't necessarily vital to the list performing as needed.
No, but having screens and bubble wraps
Yes.
gives you a tool in game, and then maybe even, like, as an example, I'm going to be using Harlequins for the next year for 40k.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that's chaff because it's all very expensive.
Right.
So creating a screen or producing bubble wrap is probably a role I
You
can't.
need to be very careful with it.
That I have to either be very careful with it.
Everything has a role. It's about determining which roles you need in the game.
Nailed it. So again, coming back to what it means exactly. So creating a screen means what you're doing is you're creating a line that means foot infantry usually, because flying units can fly over it.
Or knights.
Yeah, or knights, or so not even infantry, but basically landlocked
Landlubbers.
Yeah, landlubbers cannot get past in order to engage units behind it. You usually use it to protect units from behind.
Yeah.
In your backfield.
Typically, you'd see it in a big long line. You can, if you've got enough models and the space allows, you can put them in like a big thick blob, like a big long blob
Extra
or whatever,
thick.
spread out, extra thick, to block off the space where that model could physically fit. So flyers could still not get past that chaff wall at the screen if they literally cannot land where they want to.
Yeah.
But that you need a big unit for that.
There's also a term that I don't
Are we on bubble
written
wrap?
down,
Sorry.
that I read earlier. I've read a lot of terms recently, but there's one way you would put multi-lines of screens. Yeah, so you've got to be specific what you use now. So you do a screen, then screen. I think it's defense in depth. I think that's the terminology
With
for it.
cultist and Thousand Sons lists.
Yes. We should always give examples of these terms when we can, right? So if I was to be fighting an all berserker Khorne army that's based on the ground and is looking to fight me, a really good way of defeating them is to have a line of, let's say, Chaos Cultists, and then another line behind that, and be sensible and make that something like 4 inches away so they can't find into them or consolidate in.
And that's where we get the term bubble wrap, because bubble wrap is effectively a screen that's built into a list with the purpose of being charged.
Is it?
Yeah.
I have it as I use bubble wrap in my head, so this is where it's interesting.
Yeah.
So what I do with bubble wrap is I put a unit out as because screening's different, right?
Yeah.
So screening but again, Nikos' example of 2 big buildings, putting a line of infantry between it, so effectively screening whatever's behind it, which could be an objective, is the process of screening. Bubble wrap I literally use to wrap my army in a unit.
Yes.
So as to they can't be charged.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the screen is charged.
Bubble wrap is I'd say bubble wrap is kind of a sub.
It's a form of
category
screen.
Yeah, it's a form of screen.
So screening's the action, and bubble wrapping's a type of screening.
Screening might be screening like an area, or a general
Bubble wrap
zone,
is screening your pivot,
particular
so like Dark Reapers, for example, that's sticking a bunch of bodies in front. It's like, So, but with things like bubble wrap, with screening you can do it pretty much anything, like your chaos spawn or what have you. But when you're talking about bubble wrap is specifically you need more bodies for that kind of role, right? And therefore you need to have it pre-built into your army. So with your Harlequins, for example, you probably won't have anything that you could class as bubble
wrap.
Exactly, because you need to have it built into your army previously, right? Which is what I'm talking about saying. It needs to be pre-built, and it's there to serve a specific type of screening, aka you can't get charged.
Yeah, so screening is the action, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bubble wrap is a type of screening, and chaff is something that's very cheap financially in your points wise in your list that usually fills the role of doing bubble wrapping or screening, but sometimes it's done by other units like rhinos or like things that can strike first. So like Dark Elder.
I wouldn't even necessarily say it necessarily has to be cheap. For example, there are certain units like how am I going to put this? So I could have a list that has a couple of specialized roles. Like, okay, I have 2 uber specialized units, and I'm against an army where only one of them is useful. So there could be a matchup where, for example, I'm playing for my Shining Spears and Dark Reapers, and I know the key to me winning that game is the Shining Spears. The Reapers, they're still useful, but they effectively become chaff because if I lose them, it's not the end of the world.
No, they're not. So no, they can't be chaff. No, because so you're talking about role, which is different. I don't think chaff is a role. Chaff is a type of unit. I would describe it as because the action of screening, the action of bubble wrapping, are actions you can do with non-chaff units. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Like doing it with your Reapers.
Yeah.
But they don't become chaff because they're very great shooting units.
If there's no role to the chaff, why is it in your list?
Oh no, there is a role for it. There is a role for it. But I think chaff is defined as incredibly cheap units. Dark Reapers are never chaff.
Okay,
but
there's just a difference in definition.
Yeah, but they're never chaff. but they can be used for screening and bubble wrapping if you need them to.
And what I'm asserting is that my definition of chaff, personally, is just stuff that I consider to be surplus to requirements.
Well, what we need to do is agree.
Of course, yeah. That's fine. I can go with yours. It's fine.
Okay.
But because I won't like you, I don't see chaff as necessarily a massively important term when talking to somebody else.
Well, so explain to me as to why. Like as an example, like if let's say there's someone new, right? Because Tom, you play a lot and you talk to a lot of people who play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it becomes like useful for us all to have a lexicon that we can agree.
Yeah.
On. When you're playing to a new person and you say to them, you need to have like, does your army like? So a good conversation is talking to a guard player who's new and a harlequin player who's new. Right, you say to the guard player, your army's pretty good because you've got access to some really excellent chaff.
Yeah.
And you say, harlequin player, you don't have access to any chaff, right? But both of you can do screening and kind of bubble wrapping, yeah? But harlequin player, yours is incredibly expensive and is probably not how your army plays, yeah? But the guard player, yours definitely like can play that way, right? So like having access to, like harlequins don't have access to that type of unit.
Yeah.
But they can use units to fulfill the role.
Yeah.
So it's important to define it, right?
Right, but it just doesn't make any sense for me to change the way I use a word. Okay. When it doesn't really even... If I'm playing a tournament game, it's like, oh yeah, I don't really care about losing them, they're just chaff to me. It doesn't really make a difference to how the game is played out or
so why would they in this situation become chaff?
Because they're not useful to me in that particular matchup.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, but apart from, I think what you're doing is you're combining terms.
Right. So which terms am I combining?
I think when we get onto it, when we start talking about units that can achieve an objective, if we talk about where we were at the start of the conversation, yeah. So you might define that in order to defeat the Death Guard army, killing Mortarion is the key bit, right? Yeah. Yeah. So your Wave Serpents can't do that.
No.
Yeah, but your Dark Reapers can.
Yes.
Do your Wave Serpents become chaff?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't think...
It's just subjective.
It's not, because what we're not trying to do is produce a subjective
I know, which is why it's
dictionary.
difficult, because we've come to a different...
Yeah,
we've come in and we have a fundamentally different understanding of what words mean. And
what
makes one definition more correct than another.
So why are conscripts chaff?
Because you're more than willing to lose them in the course of the game. They're not vital for you winning the game.
But what if that unit of conscripts kills that rhino in shooting, yeah, and helps you win the game?
It helps you win the game, but it's not the vital pivot. So, for example, the way armies are built is my army's built around two things that help me win the game. Either the Dark Reapers or the Shining Spears. So in most games, I'm building around keeping one of those alive the entire game so it can carry the game for me. Everything else, it can die.
Okay. So chaff is something that can be thrown away.
That's kind of
how I came in, yes, but my definition is no more valid than yours.
No, what I'm trying to do, because I don't mind stepping away from where I sit. Yeah, right?
I'm just trying to work out how we do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how about, the guys in the chat are saying expendable could be a great way to say. Mm-hmm. So in your army list, because this is where so in your army list, if I'm army list writing, and I want to look at a unit that can bubble wrap or screen, yeah, I would look at something that I would think is cheap, that can be expendable, would be my normal process.
Right.
But when I get to the tabletop,
yeah,
right, so you have list building terms and then tabletop terms. So now when I get to the tabletop, the thing that's expendable in this situation is now my Wave Serpents.
Correct.
So it might change.
Yes.
So does it make sense that we're going to use the same word at list building that we're going to use on the tabletop? That's where we're falling apart, right?
Yeah.
Because, and it's useful for everyone, because someone's looks at the tabletop and you go, you don't have enough chaff, but then Tom will turn around and go, I've got these Wave Serpents, mate. They're my chaff all day.
But sometimes they carry the games if I need lots of mortal wounds. Wave Serpents need to live.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So maybe expendable on the tabletop is different to the term chaff.
I think my kind of breed of style of play doesn't help as well. So it's to be like, when someone's debating whether they're going to shoot my Shining Spears and my Reapers, and I need my Reapers to live, like, my Shining Spears are going to come at you, mate, you know what I mean?
Ixtab says, in normal usage, chaff does depend on context.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree that you might write a list with chaff in mind that's in your list.
That's going to do the job of...
Yes, you'd have, for example, the last list that I took to the Hellstorm event, I had 3 units of 5 scouts that they were a screen, they could be a bubble wrap, and they were my chaff. They were my dedicated chaff units at the start of the game. But then during the game, like Tom says, if something happens and the game develops, something else needs to become chaff. But you're using it might change its role and it sort of becomes chaff.
Well, it comes back to the custodies we were talking about earlier. So we were talking about the custodies list where you can say, it's typically aggressive, but it can play either aggressive or defensive. And I'm like, well, I'm writing my list here. Well, I've got these Shining Spears. They can either be aggressive or defensive, or they can either be thrown away or they have to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And it's contextual and it's different roles depending on what you're playing against. It's exactly the same as the article
and that's fantastic. It just means when we write it up, the bit under chaff is just longer, which is fine.
Detailed.
Right, okay, well, that's excellent.
Which is why we do it. If it was easy to explain, we would
and also, and that whole thought process is useful for everyone at home, so that's great. Okay, so when units become more or less expendable on the tabletop can be the term for chaff, but in your army list writing, you might have to think about units that you can use to screen or bubble wrap. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
I think that's fine.
I like that. That's good.
That seems cool with me. Right, next up, one that I'm not 100% sure of, slingshot.
Oh, there's slingshot and springboard now. I just made one up.
Well, when I read this, so I read someone's definition of this earlier, and I don't think this is relevant in 40k, but in 8th edition, but feel free. So how would you describe it, Tom?
Charging something to gain extra distance. And slingshot is distance forward, and springboard is distance backwards. Springboard is quite rare, because normally when you slingshot, you hit something, you kill it, and you've gone forwards, obviously, and then you get a 3-inch consolidation towards the closest enemy unit, so it's forwards.
So you describe slingshot as just charging?
Specifically with the purpose of gaining extra distance. Specifically with that purpose.
My Australian dwarven player describes it, and as does the Skaven player describes it, as the extra movement phase.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's about intent. Whereas something I was doing at the weekend with my Shining Spears was I was jumping them forwards 22 inches, shooting a bunch of stuff, killing it, and then using the Inari Soul Burst to jump them back again. Just kind of like a springboard, just bouncing off units.
All right, so it's effectively describing
that was springboard.
The charge phase.
It was about attacking something with the purpose of getting distance. No.
Well, I agree with that. I think definitely, charging to get extra distance. I do it quite well with like things like rhinos or sometimes with nothing inside, or even with things inside. You want to get further forward, just getting a charge to get extra movement. But I would also put into there, although it might be quite complicated again, but I would use the term slingshot to describe things like warp time. Because I would say my psyker with
undertaking an action to gain extra distance then?
Yeah.
Because it works well with my Inari thing as well, because I'm not necessarily charging anything. I'm just doing stuff.
Okay. Is it a term you've heard bandied around a lot? I haven't heard that term.
I would say maybe. Well, I don't know. I've not really heard it elsewhere, or maybe I have and just picked it up unconsciously and just used it.
Yeah. Slingshot I heard a bit back in 6th and 7th.
Yeah. I would just maybe describe it as just something outside of the normal movement phase that you do to gain extra movement.
Because we can just kill words. That's the idea, right? Some of them aren't relevant.
Well, I think slingshot is relevant.
Okay.
Personally. I would just say movement outside of the normal
Rubicon
movement phase. Well, I go charging is kind of your normal movement anyway.
But it's not the movement phase.
But then I would also I would also describe.
But it's normal movement. Every unit can do it.
But you're doing it with the intent of gaining the movement, not necessarily to kill stuff.
Yeah, so the charge isn't to attack isn't important.
Another way that you can springboard or slingshot, if we're describing it as an action, is because I sometimes will intentionally charge a unit to wipe it out to consolidate into the shooting unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like just to springboard myself that extra 3 inches to get that unit and lock it in combat. Like that's another way. So springboard's more of a springboard or slingshot is more of a tactic or an action, right?
Yeah.
When you initially said springboard, what I thought of was what I've used, not just rhinos, but I guess any transport. Is a rhino as an example, a rhino on the deployment line with
and then 3 inches, 6 inches.
You get out. So I'm deploying them in the rhino just to get an extra 3 or 4 inches movement.
In
my first turn. That's how I saw it.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's an action to generate extra movement outside of the movement phase.
Yeah.
All right, nice.
Yeah. Cool. Simple
and easy. That's cool. Because it also gives people ideas, right? Like, okay, how can I slingshot? Like, how can I get the most? People might be like, oh, so you've got movement 8, cool, but there are ways to slingshot this. Like, what is that? Well, there's charge plus the consolidate. There's an extra, that's cool. US Ork players used Aquila strong points for that 3-inch extra with Storm Boys. Xtab says, I've heard it used in other systems, usually revolving around one unit to increase the movement of another. Wolf Brother, slingshot is the way to turn around a poorly executed bubble wrap, question mark. What was that saying? Slingshot is the way to turn around a poorly executed bubble wrap.
Not even that, I had a weird one at ETC with that 3d6-inch charge into his Dark Reapers because the bubble wrap was a bit crappy.
Yes. I think just like leaving yourself open to stay there, right? Right, cool. That one's done. Right.
Sweet.
Flanker. That's
Outflanking.
That's fine. We understand what that means.
We killed the word.
So we'll get rid of that. Right. I like this one. This is a job role. The Bully, or to take a Magic the Gathering term, the Bomb.
The Bomb.
I have no idea what that means.
Bomb. So it's so the Bully unit in an army, and this kind of goes back to our question: who is the beatdown? Can anyone think of some viable bully units?
I need to know what the definition of it is.
I was Mortarion, Magnus, 6 Custodes bikes.
I would say.
Is that just a Death Star?
9 Bulgrins.
So is that
just... No, that doesn't exist.
Okay, so it's bully unit now.
Right. So the classical term for I have somewhere Solitaire's another good example, and it might be really worth people. Let me see if I've got Death Star written down. I have. So the traditional, so you might hear some people say the term Death Star when they play 40k, like, oh, you got to move the Death Star, 6 Custodes bikes, 9 grotesques, things like that. The original Death Star was the penultimate glass cannon, a giant planet-destroying laser. This is from Star Wars, mounted in a space station that was surprisingly easy to kill with a single proton torpedo. A Death Star in 40k, ironically, is the reverse Star Wars definition, a unit that has extreme amounts of points invested into it, making it nearly indestructible, while letting it have a non-insignificant amount of damage. Notable examples include non-bikers from 5th edition, the Drago Star, Screamer Star from 6th.
Drago Star was so crap.
Bark Star from 7th. So none of these terms...
Did he just call it a Bark Star?
I'm afraid so, yeah.
That is heresy.
Death Star can refer to both
that was a great list.
Or an army build around buff stacking to a certain extreme. Now, we do kind of have that in 40k now, where you have something like... A really good example is Nikos's... a unit of plasma guys for his Chaos Space Marines that are Alpha Legion, that he can make them fire twice, have +1 to hit, have +1 to wound, reroll to hit, reroll to wound. A good example would be the Ynnari.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, where you could Ynnari who can shoot twice because of Soul Burst.
Reasons.
Reasons. They can have reroll to hit, they can have reroll to wound.
Yeah, against certain targets, yeah.
So you do have the ability to buff stack, right? But I would not describe them as a Death Star, because normally in the older version of what that might be, you would pay for that ahead of time most of the time. Whereas in this, I don't think that term exists anymore.
I think you can still buff stack upon the unit, which effectively a Death Star was just a unit, and then you stack a bunch of buffs on it. Yeah. But you just have the characters inside the unit, whereas now you have to have them outside the unit.
Agreed.
So, whereas now that kind of tradition, Death Star isn't really a thing because you can just shred it with mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So yeah, I prefer the term bully unit. Like I think realistically, because because
no unit is nearly indestructible anymore because everyone can have some cool.
Yeah, so it's bully unit doesn't have to be aggro. It's something your opponent has to deal with, or it will win the game.
That's where I was going to go with.
Yeah, but it is but you can deal with it. Unlike in 7th edition, the Kennel Star, for example, which was 50 Fenrisian wolves with Azrael in it and a bunch of psychic powers from wolves. So it was like 4+ feel no pain, 6s to hit, doggy star that would cover the entire board. You can't kill that.
Yes.
You just got to play around it.
Exactly. So a bully unit, and what's good in 40k that there are I suppose
you need to stand up to the bully.
Death Star would be defined as an undefeatable unit, effectively. Yeah. Or something close.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for joining the knee stabbing gang, Wolf Brother 41. But a bully unit is something you can clearly identify on the tabletop, which I think is good. Another good example, and so and we get to quickly fit in some terms in here. Smash Captain is
a bully unit.
It's a bully unit, but also what is it actually? In case people hear the term.
A Blood Angels captain with a Thunder Hammer and a Storm Shield that can jump across the board and punch something in the head.
Yeah, because it's got a stratagem that you can move. It's got a
stratagem that allows you to place it outside of 9 inches. A stratagem that allows it to charge 3d6. A stratagem that allows it to get D for extra attacks. And a stratagem that allows it to fight again. And a pre-game stratagem that gives it +1 attack and 6+ combat pain.
And an item.
No, doesn't give him that. Tom?
What does it give him, Tom?
Death Company.
What does it give him?
A damage protection roll.
A DPR.
A DPR,
That's
Tom.
right.
Yeah.
A Death Company roll.
Huh?
Never mind.
And there's also an item you can ignore Overwatch.
You can ignore Overwatch.
Yeah, that's a
as well.
relic.
Yeah. So I read some stats actually over at some of the ITC stuff, where traditionally, so slam captains as they're called, or smash captains,
Or smash fuckers.
or smash fuckers.
Less politically correct
Yeah,
fellas.
so blood angels with thunder hammers and storm shields. So that's the term, but they're a type of bully unit, right?
Mhm.
Now, whether or not, I think that's a good term. They're units that can go in, and most units you would hope you're like, well, this is a bully unit, and that some people just have bully units, right? But some people have support units, like a Space Marine captain that's given rerolls to everyone around him, like a chapter master.
Gulliman.
Like he's not a bully unit.
Yeah.
He's a synergistic support piece that needs to be
Lieutenant.
targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like the idea? You like the idea of bully unit?
Mm-hmm.
Because that hopefully would be useful for people on the tabletop to go, right, what are their bully units? Tom, do you do that? Do you go which units
What do I need to kill first?
will have the most impact in the game? Oh, another term for a smash captain is also slamguinius.
I like that one.
Yeah. Kind of. Like, when I played the last game, it was against an army with Mephiston in it, wrapped by a bunch of guard, and I was like, well, Mephiston's going to walk over here and punch my stuff unless I deal with him.
Yeah.
So, I didn't really call them a bully unit, but I guess.
Yeah. And I think bully units can be aggro or defensive too.
Yeah.
Like my 9 Bullgrims with 2 up invulnerable saves are a bully unit.
Well, you can even use them as a speed bump, for example. So let's say you've got Mephiston. Mephiston's a really good example. Mephiston's really easy to hide. So what you can do is you can take Mephiston, slap him in the middle of the board, and say, right, there's my bully unit. If you want to come and get me, that's fine. But Mephiston's going to jump out and punch you in the head. And that way you're kind of forcing your opponent to an action because of a unit. And that's the definition of bullying, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's a unit you use to bully your opponent in some way and to affect...
To force certain actions.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Someone says Smashquinius is the dumbest name.
It is, that's awful. That's awful. That does not roll off the tongue.
No, I like Smashfucker. That's
Smash
pretty
Fucker's
good.
much
Yeah.
better.
I was going to say that actually, going back to it, because I've got a lot of notes, that there's the idea that there are general terms that go across all systems. Yeah, across the whole game, a 40k, and then there are codex specific terms, like Flyrant is another specific
Support
term.
fire.
Yeah, for Tyranids for flying high clarets. So maybe that you should go on your own specific codex.
When I was doing the what was it, the VOD review for your game, I kept using the term support fire because the stratagem for Knight Hawkshroud is if something is charged within 12 inches of your knight can overwatch for it.
Yeah.
And that's just like the tower rule, and I was calling it supporting fire without even noticing.
Yeah, so
even though it's traditionally a tower-only rule, it's being applied to other units because that's kind of what it is.
Oh, cool.
So we can just do that one. Support fire.
Support fire, go for it.
Slap support fire. Cool. Bang. Thank you, Scribe.
Good.
Okay. I don't even know.
How is everyone, by the way? How's everyone on Twitch and all the other things? Evening, Gozzy. You're someone because of your shit screen name. Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
No, that was just Joe. Joe Cryer over in America.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Right, sorry. Someone just sent me a video.
It's not
over
UK
in America.
Not UK banner.
No. Right, where am I? I lost my bloody notes. Next up, buff piece.
Buff piece.
Buff piece.
How I would
describe it on a
say...
Saturday night dancing.
Ooh!
Move on.
I heard some smack about you being able to dance really well on your Facebook.
I like to be a buff beast before I become a smash fucker. That's my main.
That's your strategy, is it?
Yeah. That's what.
That's your win condition.
Nikos?
So buff piece,
Yeah.
I would say, is a unit, typically a character that makes other units around it better in some way.
Yeah.
Like more reliable, more damagey, or more survivable.
Biologus putrefiers.
Yes, good examples are biologists. Well, great examples. Gulliman, as LV's put out.
Yep.
Captain,
Lieutenants.
lieutenant,
Chapter masters, lieutenants,
Farces.
cryptex.
all psychers, effectively, usually, or they're the opposite, right? They're buff or they're debuff units.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Eldar get both.
Yeah.
Great. Because why not?
Protect Jinx. Do you want to be a buff or a debuff today?
and again, you guys, I'm sure you know this, but just in case, buff obviously is something that improves a unit, right? And there are also auras, aren't there?
Yeah.
And there are two types. Well, there are auras and there are splashes. Is the other way to describe it.
How do you mean by a splash?
So what you have, an aura is constantly around a character.
So you turn it on.
You turn it on, and everything within or wholly within 6 or 12 or whatever is affected by the unit, right? However, a splash is when you activate it, poof, and it hits everything currently in range, and then they can go off.
Oh, right, yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so aura and splash is usually...
Are there any... Like, I can think of one for Age of Sigmar, but can you think of any examples for 40k?
For what splashes?
Yeah.
The fanny tree.
The fanny tree.
So you mean the
Feculent
Narmor, or affectionately nicknamed the Feck tree? Yeah. Oh wait, a better one is persistent aura and triggered aura.
There you go.
Is probably better.
Yeah.
Passive and active.
Oh, someone says pulse is better. There's all sorts of rows, but we'll describe it. Yeah.
Woo!
Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, the Feculent Narmor, if you're within range at the start of the turn, you get the advantage of being able to advance and charge and doing lots of other cool things. So there's the pulse.
Yeah.
The active.
Fart from the tree.
Yes. Requeef.
Requeef.
Whoops. Whoops.
Oh dear. You can go really fast. And all the little dudes run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Right.
Moving on. Quick, go.
Okay. So you've got castle. What do you think of that?
Car park.
Castle.
Castle or / car park is a new 8th edition version of saying it, but they mean the same thing.
A castle is more infantry based and a car park is more vehicle based, I guess. You put it on the corner and you leave it there and shoot stuff.
Yeah, so a castle or a car park traditionally defined, or a gunline army.
Or even castle, like, for an infantry unit, you can even just walk around with your castle.
Well, yeah, so Nathan takes the piss out of me a lot, which I suppose some people don't know.
How about that?
They takes the piss out of me a lot, on air and off air, but for me, I'm a castle gamer. I like mobile castles. It's my thing. Like
Rob's Moving Castle.
Yeah, Rob's Moving Castle, a film soon from the Honest Wargaming Studios. Yeah, I like moving castles. So effectively, I like a strong defensive line or something that someone has to hit, or a wall.
So bubble wrap.
Yeah, yes, another way to describe it. But that obviously has a castle. Traditionally, people would break against the wall while archers or units from behind.
Boiling oil.
Yeah, boiling oil. Hitting the wall would be the thing I would want you to do.
Yeah.
Because it could survive the attack. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Is that different to a gun line where they park in a corner? That effectively is a gun line. Is I want you to. I want to keep shooting for you from as far away as possible.
Yeah.
That's different, right?
I guess because you could have a gun line, which doesn't have any chapel screens.
You're just relying on things dying before it gets
relying
there.
on killing them before they get to you.
Yes.
And then you take your least valuable tanks or the slightly more chaffy tanks and say, "There you go and tie them up."
So a gun line can be different to a castle. A castle has a strong defensive wall in some way. Whether or not that is a weak defensive wall in bubble wrap and screens, yeah. So that's their cheap defensive wall. But they still have a wall of some description. So it's something that has like a wall.
So is a castle like a gun line with
a wall
bubble wrap?
Yes.
Is it a mix of the two?
There we go. Yeah. They bleed over into each other, but it's good to describe it, right? Because some of them might mean less or more than we think that they do. And a gun line is like just it's just everything shoots, right? So Tau.
Yeah.
Yeah, castle is pretty more, I'd imagine it's more versatile. You can walk around the wall with it and punch things.
Yeah, because you might have a fucking scary castle
like
wall
you with your Borgrins and your conscripts. There you go.
Yeah.
And you got your little characters in there.
Okay. Gunline doesn't want you to engage, but a castle does. That's a good point as well. Yeah. And the term comes from obviously a chess move, right? Where you can move a castle and a rook.
The king of a rook.
We also have a question in, Tom, from Unicron John. It's a question: how was Tom's date this week? Question mark.
Which one?
Wow.
Multiple dates.
How did it go? And did you tell her? Did you listen to the show on Monday about telling?
I have been. She's going. She's going to be around at mine on like Monday or something.
And how are you going to break the Warhammer thing?
She wants to see the Warhammer room. So
have you already told her about the Warhammer?
Oh yeah. It's like we've been friends for like a year and a half.
Oh okay. And how did that go?
We're still going out, so I guess it's going fine. She hasn't seen the pieces yet, though. Look at this shit paint job.
Well, that's the scary bit. You hear that bit about the show on Monday. Where you said, I can defeat you, Rob, because I said on Monday's show, I said the worry when you tell, especially a new girl, about your Warhammer, she comes and sees your collection, she picks up your worst painted model and goes, oh, this is pretty, and you're like, and your defense was, all my stuff looks shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
I can't be worried about that, because I know it's going to happen.
Good.
No, like, take him as one model, put it pride of place, like, she's going to walk in, she's going to turn right like she's in a shopping centre, and there's a glass cabinet there, and what, lo and behold, on the perfect shelf, the perfect arm distance, there's my nicest painted models. Nah, fucking shit. It's not even a problem.
Okay.
You okay?
Yes.
There's something bamboozled you.
My Facebook is all, like, I get Facebook messages, I'm trying to read the Twitch chat, and some of them not appropriate for the TV.
Oh, okay.
Right, so a castle, Sunny says, a castle can be defended at close range, but that's not necessarily part of the gun line.
Correct.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Right, next up, we've covered Chaff and Death Star, which is nice. Right, bait/trap. It's a trap! It's a trap!
It's me telling other people to shoot my rangers.
It's a psychological trap.
Yeah, psychological trap. So, bait and/or trap, what do we think?
I say it's a unit that you put somewhere on the board when you try to, where I guess you don't want to give away to your opponent that you want them to kill it in some way. I would say most likely you want them to go and charge it in combat because you maybe want to draw a unit into a certain position.
Or even like if someone moves around the side of the building to get line of sight on it.
Yeah. Change.
Or just doesn't move backwards.
You do something with one of your units to make them respond in a certain way to give you an advantage.
It's kind of like the opposite of bully unit. You're using it to try and force an action out of your opponent, but it's one that they think is good. Whereas a bully unit, if it lives, great.
Yeah, so a bully unit, you're trying to get a negative reaction from them.
Yeah.
But a bait unit,
you're
trying
to get
a
positive
proactive
it's also a
reaction,
negative reaction for them. Yeah. A bully unit, you're trying to control their movement or their actions through offense. A trap unit is literally the opposite. It's like you say, it's trying to control their actions through bait, right?
Right. So the bully unit, you're forcing them to make what they perceive to be the lesser of two evils in terms of actions, right? Whereas the bully unit is more, the bait unit even is more trying to get them to engage in action they believe to be positive, not necessarily just the least negative, which then turns out to be more of a negative. And
your bully unit can also be your bait unit.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like if I was to get up on a tabletop, Tom, and you were to establish that I had like 3 Blood Angels Space Marine captains, and I put one just with no bubble wrap around it, like just available right there at the front, in front of my army, you'd be like, but you have to move one of your units a little bit closer to shoot it. You'd be like, that is clearly a bit of bait for me.
Well,
depending on which units you have in your army.
Or it's such an obvious bait that they don't take it. It's like, well, no, I just messed it up, mate.
Yes, yeah. So you can use bait, and I would say, me and Nikos were talking about this earlier because I was reading that I think can I link it in here? There we go. This book, Playing to Win. It was talking about being a beginner, intermediate, and an advanced player. And I would say that initially you don't really know what your bully or bait units are, or how to use them maybe. Intermediate levels, because you're winning through other people's mistakes at the beginner level. At the intermediate level, you're both playing to win and making actions to win. And at the advanced level, which I think very few 40k players are at, no offense everyone, and I don't mean these Sigmar players are either. I think maybe Warhammer isn't there yet, in my opinion. Is where
you're making proactive moves.
You would know that it's a trade. Now, I've put a unit out as bait. You don't take the bait, but that puts you in an unadvantageous situation. So you then maybe you go, I know that's bait, but I'll take it anyway because I think it puts me in a stronger position.
It's like the difference between being a good tactician and a good strategist in chess. So a good strategist will be able to see like 4 or 5 turns in advance and know exactly what's going on. So if like you say, okay, well, you could put this thing here, and I could go and kill it, and that'd probably be a good short-term trade for me. But then I'd be in this position with this unit where I don't want it to be, and that's going to bite me in 4 turns. So it's in your fad review actually, but
okay.
You know.
So some guys in the chat are trying to help us out here a little bit. Bait should be attractive to your opponent in some way.
Yes.
100%. Click bait.
Shiny.
Nick, hi Nick, says, Lamborn says it can be a unit you deliberately leave debuffed until it's engaged.
Oh, I forgot to oh no.
Yeah.
Have to kill it now.
Oh wow. So and obviously there's gaming like psychology, right? Which we're probably not
above the table gameplay.
Above the where you're intentionally.
And I don't just mean.
Yeah, you don't put a rhino. You don't put a rhino there, and then just hope that they know that's bait. You put a rhino there and go, oh, I hope you don't shoot him.
Oh my.
Please don't attack him.
If only someone was good at that. But that's a confidence thing, though. That's a confidence thing. Because if you think your opponent knows more about the game than you do, and you say, oh, when you ask your opponent, what would you do? It's like, well, I can't really help you, but these guys are going to kill your commander.
All right, good, because we can talk about the next term that I want to talk about now, which I think is important.
Perfect
also,
segue.
Hellhounds are bait, says Datcom, which I think is...
They are shit, apart from being scary.
Warbrother says, can Mortarion be classified as both bully and bait, and do you have distraction later in the list?
All right, so Neil Powell was doing this with Mortarion, so he took the old Poxwalker list, and he put Mortarion in it.
Yeah.
Just so, if someone else got the first turn, now they have a choice. I can either try and remove all the Poxwalkers, in which case you better remove all the Poxwalkers, or you take the safer option and you go for Mortarion. Whereas with normal Poxwalker list, it's like, right, I'm just going to try and kill all the Poxwalkers. That way you can't regen anymore, right?
And it also moves into the term distraction Carnifex.
Boom.
Distraction Carnifex is a type of bait.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, like, those terminologies are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Poxwalker probably isn't actually a good comparison, because actually in Poxwalkers you had to kill all the cultists, but anyway.
Yeah. But it's where effectively I would put Mortarion or maybe even Magnus in my list, who, if you can't deal with them, are bully units. But realistically, we talked about this way back in the day, when we were talking about kind of the meta and where things are at, where you would put that in your list, wanting it to be the unit that gained all of your opponent's attention, so that you could do the other thing, which was going to win you the game.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're not bully. Seems to be a unit type. Bait sounds like a tactic.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Which is why I was saying you could use a bully unit as a bait.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's.
But not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, that makes loads of sense. Yeah. This is fucking cool. I can't wait to like hone this down afterwards and like really.
Good luck. Good luck.
That's fine. You're helping.
Okay, that's fine. I'm on holiday, bro. I'm
so
down.
the next one I want to talk about, because I think this is an important bit. I read a book when I was much younger called The Art of Bushido. Right.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, Bushido is a form of like Japanese it's not quite a martial art. It's more like a martial discipline or a way of thinking. And it's also their kind of like a way of life in a way as well. One of those things is that a samurai or like a practitioner of martial arts or the way of the Bushido, they would refuse to fight someone who they didn't think was of adequate skill as them. Like they'd be a master of 30 years of fighting.
That's kind of disrespectful.
Well, it is, but it's also disrespectful if you think you're really good. So a real world analogy is I remember being like 6, and my head teacher at school, I was like, we were playing chess at lunch break, and then my head teacher at school was like, I play chess too. And then we were like, we'll play, sir, we'll play here. And then went in, and he beat us in like 3 moves. Yeah.
Oh, should you have a 4-move checkmate?
Well, yeah, and it was embarrassing, but also at the same time, it was like, wow, you're amazing at chess. It gives you something to aspire to.
Yeah.
But if that was your life on the line, it would have been over, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So
you don't just go around killing randos.
Isn't it more disrespectful to know?
Yeah, I didn't realise it was a killing thing.
Yeah, isn't it more disrespectful to isn't it more disrespectful to take a challenger on? Like, isn't it more disrespectful to just wipe an opponent? And this is where I'm at now with Warhammer. Who you know you can beat hands down straight off the bat because they've got no experience and are new, yeah, right? I don't mean at a tournament, because at a tournament you should always try to win. Right. So the term that I heard is seal clubbing.
Right. Okay. So here we go.
Yeah.
So I don't see any value in me potential in seal clubbing anyone, right? But I will still play practice game. All of my 40k is basically practice games, and I'll practice against anyone because I'm not so cocky anymore. But I think that I can't learn anything from anyone.
Yes.
I can always learn something, and hopefully they can learn something from me too.
Exactly.
And therefore, it's not about the winning or losing for me. It's about learning something.
Well, so again, going back to this article I was reading earlier, he described winning, or competitive play as a conversation.
Yes.
Right. So if I walked in to this conversation and said, "Tom," no, because I need something that's more inimmutable than that. That's even. I can just already hear counter arguments.
It's okay. I'll leave them alone.
Like,
I'll leave them alone.
A rock wall is a physically solid object.
Yes.
Yeah, and you would just go, yes.
Yes.
Right. That's the same as me Alpha Strike first turning, taking all tabling you. Right. The conversation is done at that point, and it goes no further. Whereas a good competitive conversation, or a good competitive game, is where I make the conversation something like "water is wet," and you go, "Unless it's ice, Rob." In which case it's solid. And then it goes, "Unless it's air." So there's a conversation.
Well, this is the thing. So I was playing a practice game against a guy who noticed me from a London GT. And he was a Ynnari player, and he was more of a Shining Spears very Ynnari player. So he had 3 squads of Shining Spears and 1 squad of Dark Reapers. Yeah. And he was playing at Heat 1. He was 3-0 coming out the first day. Yeah. And I played against him, and he'd made a mistake whereby he'd put his rangers out. So what I did was I just jumped my Shining Spears across, I procced my Soul Burst off the rangers, and then I charged his army, and I was like, see, that's how you do it. And it looked horrendous. And it kind of was horrendous. But what he learned from it was, okay, if you see someone make the mistake that you did, you can punish that. And don't make the mistake yourself against this army, because if you do, this is what I'll do. And we played the game again. Yeah. And he changed the way to play. So he didn't make that mistake. And then we played a longer game, and we got to a similar conclusion, but the way I had to do it was very, very different and a lot harder. Because we learned from that mistake. So I don't mind, I could lose the game, but I'll have learned a lot, and therefore I've considered that to be a win, because it depends on what you want out of the game.
Yeah. Well, so, and this is where it's really important. So, the term seal clubbing, if you guys have heard it, might be that he's a seal clubber, or you got seal club or something, especially if you're new, and it's the terminology that we're trying to explain is where, someone with a better list or with greater skill at the game defeats you quite simply and quite easily. Yeah. So neither a seal clubber should you be, nor seal clubbed should you get.
This is the thing with seal clubbing. So I see it as beating someone weaker than you for the sheer purpose of attaining a win.
Yes.
So getting satisfaction out of doing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is
weird to me.
Well, and the reason I started with the Bushido thing before, where people with consummate skill would refuse to accept those challenges. Now, I'm not saying if you think you're the best gamer in the world, don't play new people. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is don't adjust yourself accordingly, as in, I'm not talking about narrative gamers or casual gamers. I don't give a shit about those people. In this context, in other contexts I do, but right now I don't when we're talking about this. I think realistically you should look at that term and you should go, okay, how best from other game systems, and maybe this is something we're going to come back to in the future, can I apply learning as a skill during this game? Yeah. What can I learn? What can I do? A tournament, just be the person.
It's about having a good mindset.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. It is about having a good mindset, absolutely. But again, I think it's really interesting. Let me just go see what the guys are saying here. Yeah. It sounds like you need to be a good judge of character to decide. Depends on what will motivate someone. Personally, I would want to get stomped. I would want to get stomped, then go for round 2 after being told why I suck. That wouldn't work for most.
Right, people. Of course. But when it's a practice game, it isn't about sucking or what have you. It's just if you make this mistake, this is how you'll be punished. And so when I make a bad mistake in a game, or even in a practice game, sometimes I'll do things right, let's see what happens. And if it's a mistake, you'll punish me super hard, and I'll know that's a mistake, and I won't forget it. Mm. Whereas if someone puts down my army and deploys something further forward so I can jump off it with Soul Burst, and I say, oh mate, I'm not sure you should do that. Maybe you should put him back a little bit. We might have the
instantly better game, but you won't learn from that because you won't see why you shouldn't do that. And I can understand why it's like
in quite a lot of games, like in practice games, like club games or whatever, I quite often in my opponent's turn, I think it's sort of going against what you were saying.
No, it's fine.
I quite often discuss what I would do if I was them and say what.
It's just a method of learning.
I would discuss with them how I would beat my army.
Yeah.
Because it sort of helps me understand my army better, but then I hope it helps.
And that's fine. Yeah.
Also understand their army better.
I normally do that after the game because I learn more through seeing and doing rather than through fearing it out beforehand. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, we play the game, and then we'll go through the mistakes afterwards. So when I'm playing a game, I have like a dice, and when I see what I think to be a mistake, I just put it down on the floor with like a number on it, and when I see another one, I'll count it up. And that's just so that at the end of the game, we can go through all those and think, well, how would it have been different if you'd done this? And it's like, okay, well, this wouldn't have happened and this wouldn't have happened. Okay, now it's a closer game. Mm-hmm. So it's just a method of doing, like a method of learning. If you learn better through discussing it beforehand, great.
I just tend in the situation to like talk through, well, what would happen if you did this?
Yeah.
What would happen if you did that? You need to achieve X by getting close to this objective. How can you possibly do it?
Yeah.
And we talk through with each different unit what they could possibly do.
And I totally understand and appreciate that. It's just, exactly. That's all it is. Like, I just learned through getting absolutely like smashed. So, like, even with a London GT, and I've said this a bunch of times, I lost every single practice game. Because I was like, hey, I wonder what happens if I do this. And I launched my Shining Spears at someone and they died. I was like, well, don't destruct your Shining Spears, that's a bad idea. And when I did it again, it's like, nope, still don't destruct your Shining Spears, that's a bad idea.
So there's actually, Man1 ACOP says, I agree 100%. How do you reconcile the growth of new players at tournaments where decisive victories are encouraged? The tournaments promote the use of these tactics combos as they get you the win, as in, tabling your opponent. We'll talk about tabling in a minute. I have got a proposed solution to this, to seal clubbing in a competitive setting.
Yeah. Do you want new people to wear a seal badge?
Maybe.
Or a seal hat?
Maybe that is the
seal hat sounds
hand out clubs to the experienced.
And this is going to be relevant. This is going to be relevant next year.
Matlets, those squishy.
Yeah. And this is going to be relevant next year when the Wargamer starts to run its own events. That's the first time I've said that in public.
Yeah, you wound yourself up.
Like, okay. So I think things are like, Tom, you should not be playing people at a tournament. Your first round at a tournament should not be against a person who is new. Like, at registration, it makes no sense. It's a buy for you. Like, it's disrespectful not only to the person who's new, but it's also disrespectful for you. Like, your path to victory as a gamer of standing should be slightly more challenging. Yeah? Or you got disagreement?
No, I've got a question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Let's say I'm on Mars. And on Mars, I am the shitter of the 40k universe, and everyone is massively better than me. How will I ever learn if I don't play people that are better than me?
Well, everyone's better than you.
Thank you. Exactly.
That's the point, right? Yeah, there's a tier, but people who have been to, as an example, right? How many games of 8th edition 40k have you played? I've played. Let's just say someone's cumulative total is 1. Yeah, they probably at a tournament should be playing other people whose cumulative total is under 50.
Mine's probably about 50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right? It's real simple. It's not very hard to
might be a bit more.
It's not very hard to split up, and that's only for the first round. Yeah, right. It just means that you don't get a first round bye. Yeah, right.
But then what happens when you have all the seals beat each other and one seal beats another seal?
Well, so let's take a tournament of 150 people, right?
Yeah.
Let's pick something like 40 people are the seal clubbers.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably most of the field are also seals. Yeah. In comparison to the seal clubbers. Yeah. Which is why
they get the strongest seal that just comes out on the top.
Exactly. Even if you had all of the seals play each other in the first round, 50%, of the seal clubbers, so these are the elite players.
50% of the seal clubbers will go out.
No, they won't go out, but what they will do is either get a minor victory or a loss in their first round, which is fine, right? Which means, but then a bunch of seals have won their first game and are like, woohoo, I'm doing really well, and then they get their fucking dick pushed in.
I'm a seal clubber.
Yeah, I'm a seal clubber, and then they go and meet the other fellas, and then they get their dick pushed in.
It depends on the mindset, though. It depends on, are you playing the game to win, or are you playing it to learn?
Well, I think
everyone's playing some
I
games,
think
isn't it?
I would go back to the point you made earlier about that how to win at games.
Yeah.
Where you were talking about beginner gamers win by their opponents making a mistake.
Yes.
In the example you're talking about, where you have a separation of the seal clubbers and the seals, yes, they're not playing the seal clubbers to learn from better players, but they're avoiding being completely smashed and not
having their hearts broken.
Not necessarily.
You want a little
much
bit
from
more.
that.
You want veteran seals
Yeah, so
playing against the seal
Well,
clubbers.
and also,
but seals playing seals will still learn by just playing.
and also, and Tom, so there's another term that we have for 40k competitive gaming, and also just for Warhammer competitive gaming generally, is where you'll just get easy matchups or just buys.
Yeah.
So rock paper scissors. So like, I can definitely beat you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's arguable that a lot of people just build lists which can get a lot of buys.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. Those are my thoughts. I thought I would think. That's...
I think I'm just coming at this from a weird mindset because I genuinely don't mind losing games. I genuinely
Even
don't.
in a tournament, though.
Even then.
So you're new to the game.
No, this is just me personally. So
Okay.
me personally, unless it's the ETC or some kind of team event, I genuinely don't mind losing games because I'll probably have learned something from those games. And so I'm like going in like, well, if I play against someone good, great, because it means I get to play a really tough game and I might learn something. Whereas that's not the same for everyone, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think losing does teach you something, but you have to identify why you've lost. Have I lost?
Yes.
Have I lost because my opponent forced a victory, or have I lost because I made a mistake?
But a lot of the time that is down to attitude. It's just like, oh well, I lost because the dice were shit, or I lost because matchup was really bad. It's just like,
I don't know if this is really on point, but as a random tangent, I would say one way to learn about your games is take a picture.
I do that a
At
lot.
the start, in the middle, at the end. And then after the fact, if you had a bad game, you lost and you're a bit salty about it afterwards, you're like, oh, fucking hell, I lost because blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then the next day or whatever, you can look back at that photo.
Fresh eyes.
And you can look back at the photo and reflect and see the game.
Or
and
ask
start
some
mirroring it.
friends.
Yeah, and just...
Which is
you
why
can
it's
sit
even
there and
better
reflect,
now.
and then learn after the fact.
Yeah, so when I finished a round, I'll just go around my mates and just take photos of questionable things and just show them after the round, because I don't want to talk to him around, that'd be unfair, but I'll talk to him afterwards.
Zyko says 100 bits, 200 bits. He's donated to the show. I love the show, Rob. Thanks for the moment for doing this. Thank you to you. Thank you everyone watching, and also thank you to Nick and Tom. And if you're listening on the podcast, also thank you to everyone on Patreon and also Twitch, because those guys make it so that we can do this. Plus, I've been so excited about this all week. It's like fucking jonesing me up. Right, so seal clubbing. So that's when you get your dick kicked in by someone who's really good, or when
someone kicks the dick of someone in for the sheer purpose of kicking the dick of someone in.
No one wins in that scenario.
No.
Yeah, especially because
unless you're some sick, twisted bastard who likes inflicting pain.
Yeah, what I liked is that idea that it was a conversation, that like there's more to be learned when you push back at a point. Yeah, when I make a strong a statement and you push back on it, I'll learn more from that than I will than just the conversation just goes straight through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, well, cool. Yeah, we agree. I'm like, well, okay. And that's the difference between. And then we go into alpha striking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So alpha striking is
hit it very hard.
Okay. Nick, you got a definition?
You do it better.
Your stratagem for the game is to annihilate your opponent's army enough so they can't do very much after that, and you win the game.
Yes,
with one big punch.
So it's a military term, isn't it? And it's effectively to do so much damage to your opponent that they no longer have the resources or ability to counter strike. You effectively win in your first gambit,
like the nukes.
Like the nukes, or they were the last gambit, right?
Yeah. As a beta strike.
And it's also called a mutually assured destruction, so it's mad.
Mad.
So, it's all bad, right?
Moab.
Yeah. Moab. And it's specifically very important in 40k because the damage output that can be done in a single turn is so strong that alpha striking is a path to victory that a lot of people take.
Hashtag the first turn problem.
Well, it's still a case of Age of Sigmar, right? Because I know Gary really likes to run alpha strikey lists, right?
Yes.
So
yes, because he's a 40k player who's gone to Age of Sigmar.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Alpha strike. 40k's always had an alpha striking problem.
Yes,
I would say.
Especially with so
when I was talking earlier about the psychic power Death Stars, so like Candle Star and Screamer Star and what have you, they were entirely reliant upon getting these buffs up. So people would get lists and say, okay, well, I'm just going to go first and kill your star before it can even get its buffs up, and then I just win the game.
Yes.
Because if you let the buffs go up, then you can't do anything, so therefore you just have to build for the first turn only, and that's kind of carried over now.
Yeah, and that's not fun, is it?
Screamer Star was very fun when it got its buffs up.
Yeah, but like,
Let's leave the past in the past.
Oh no, but it's just a good description, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, a lot of 40k builds are reliant upon getting running, and if they can't get running, then they can't win. And the one way you can stop them from getting running is with a list that hits really hard first. Mm. So it's not necessarily about that. It's just about the style of play that's been in 40k for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, it's also because it's the easiest path to victory. And again, like we said at the start of the show, that's a really important thing to remember. Like, how do I win? And if it's, I can definitely kill my opponent's ability I can kill their bully units and their bait and everything all at the same time.
You're never going to play 40k.
Yeah. Well, you don't get to play
my
because I
own
win
game
before you go.
Well, 40k's got a heavy drinking culture, so we just win within half an hour we go to the bar.
So the Alpha Strike, that's what it means.
Yeah.
And it's very prevalent in 40k because it just means, also it's like a quick decider, right? Can I Alpha Strike you and win? No. And then I've lost.
Yeah.
That's fine. So then the follow-up to that is the Beta Strike, which is...
eating it and beating it, right?
Exactly, eating it and beating it.
So
it's where the Alpha Strike,
alpha.
it's where you intentionally bait an Alpha Strike, so you drag an Alpha Strike in, or you have an army like that is... So Beta Strike is normally defined by having models off the board. So maybe your key pieces, or your bully units, or your synergistic pieces off the board, so that the most the Alpha Strike can do is potentially damage key bits that you don't care about much.
I would say that I'm very much a Beta Strike player.
You're a very Beta Strike player. That's who you are.
Yeah.
That's how you play. But I would say that also the step up from beginner to intermediate as a player, based on people I've watched, is being able to Beta Strike.
Yeah.
Because being able to Alpha Strike, i.e. go first and attack, is based around being able to go first.
Yeah.
And you can't guarantee that all the time, right?
Well, even then, so let's say you've got an army that Alpha Strikes out of reserve. So like your army, for example. So let's say I'm not going to hit you until your Bloodletter Bomb comes down, and I have a choice of turn. I go second. Your Bloodletter Bomb has to come on turn 3. I have stuff in reserve. I'll hold it until you bring your Bloodletter Bomb down, and then I'll hit it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but by that time I've screened out the whole board, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. Details.
So you'll never hit me, Tom, because I'll have blocked
it was
off the whole
It was a
board.
hypothetical example.
Yeah,
Stop ruining my examples, mate.
I'd have stopped it. So
yeah, so the Beta Strike.
You get the point.
Yeah,
so the Beta Strike is effectively a counter strike.
You just gave me your stress.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Wait, so is Beta Strike like a counterpunch? I would say that's basically how I describe it. Or is a counterpunch more defensive and you grind down after an Alpha Strike? So the ability so a Beta Strike is different in a way, because your ability to eat and beat it, so like to take an Alpha Strike and then defend, might mean that you've built a castle army.
So you know that episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Where Homer's just a boxer and he gets punched for like hours.
Yeah.
And then his opponent just really tired, so he just smacks and they die. It's that.
Yes.
You take a hit and then you just hit him back.
No, I disagree. It's more like I think it's defined by the fact that you keep a few units off the board.
Right.
Like your opponent,
or safe,
especially your key pieces, which your opponent can't get with an Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
So then you just that's how I think I would describe it.
So it's my thing with Wave Serpents as well. Like people just come over and hit Wave Serpents trying to crack with Dark Reapers, and the Dark Reapers just jump out and kill you.
Zemini says Ixtab says scenery also has a big impact on whether or not you can or cannot Alpha Strike.
Correct.
I would agree with that. Sanise, I think there's a place in both systems for forces that try to press the advantage early, especially if it's more appropriate from Lunar Wolves to Deepkin. I wouldn't want that to go away, and I agree with that as well. I think, for me personally, I think being able to Alpha Strike, is a beginner to mid-tier strategy. That once if the game has the depth to learn how to defeat that, then you're a better player because the most they can do is Alpha Strike. Normally, Alpha Strikes are a load of points invested in units that can move really fast, or that use stratagems and command points to produce an effect. Like, that's their job and their purpose. And then if you leave them out, then they're getting shot at, and that's not when they're there. You know, sometimes defined as a glass cannon, which
Yeah.
would be
Dark Eldar. Or even Harlequins.
which are what does glass cannon mean?
Oh, it's you can hit really hard, but you also die really easily.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're happy with that
And I would
one,
say
yeah.
alpha strikes are normally defined by being glass cannons.
You can have a list that can Alpha Strike, but isn't necessarily a glass cannon.
Yes, and that's also true.
Armies that have to Alpha Strike will generally be glass cannons by nature.
Yep.
Because the entire reason you have to Alpha Strike is because if you get hit first, you're just going to die.
Agreed. And
Okay.
you can defeat alpha strikes also with bait. You can bait out. The alpha strike goes after the bait instead of the other thing, and then you hit them with
The
bait
scary
strike.
stuff. Yeah.
What's a good counterpunch or beta strike list? So Nick's is a good one. So Nick has a bunch of plasma marines that he uses for his chaos guys. So what Nick does is he keeps a unit of reserves. Now, normally you would think, okay, he's going to wait till turn 2 to try and be aggressive to make a win. But what happens is people attack his lines, and then he just drops all of his reserves into his own lines, and then uses that safety net to just attack.
Drukhari are a good one.
Drukhari are a good
Beta Strike,
list.
potentially, because you can have the Grotesque War, which people hit when you hit with Talos, or they somehow remove the Talos when you drop down with the Ravagers, because things that are scared of the Talos are generally also scared of the Ravagers. So, like my Dark Reapers, for example, will come out, they'll kill the Talos, and they'll die to the Ravagers.
Yeah, my Ork list was a good beta strike list.
Yeah.
It was also a castle list. It was just like, you can't hurt, you can't ever kill me on the first turn. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that can do it. And then, so then I'm going to get to Counter-Strike, and I've got depending on what you kill, I might have 90 boys, I might have 20 mech guns, or 18 now.
I think melee lists are generally quite good at Beta Strike.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough melees.
I generally played my Bloodletters as a beta strike list. Particularly after the FAQ changes to the deep striking, you can't go on turn 1.
Yeah.
So generally you had to wait till turn 2.
See, this is where it's interesting. We're starting to get into list classification now, right? So there's at least 3 or 4 types of terminology from different list design, in-game use, whether or not it be a type of unit or an action you perform. And then there's also a terminology for just an encompassing overarching strategy. Because while you might alpha strike with a large proportion of your list, you might not do it with all of it, right? Because there are backfield holders, and there's screening units that make it so that your opponent can't deep strike or outflank. Terms we've come up with before.
Almost like I don't know if it's a setup unit.
Yeah.
Is a term I would sort of coin for my missile launchers and autocannon squad in my Heat 1 list.
Yeah.
Their entire role was to set up the Bloodletter strike.
Right.
Clear the screen.
So I played against a list that was really good against that, which is Sisters Battle list. So Manny Chin was running Master Caledonian Uprising, and he was using a unit of Retributors with Heavy Bolters and Act of Faith in the movement phase to clear a screen and then go with Celestia. Another example is Tesseract Bolts and Flayed Ones. So you use a Tesseract Bolts, you jump them across with a Deceiver, and then you do your Powers of the Catan at the end of the movement phase. So you do the Powers of the Catan first, you clear a screen, and then at the end of the movement phase, you jump 20 Flayed Ones across from Novok, and you charge. So basically you're using the Tesseract Bolts to set up as well. Is that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, definitely.
Because you've got to wait at least a turn to drop them in your opponent's zone anyway, so that's why you have the Havocs.
All right. So another term for Magic the Gathering, by the way, is can you make a dictionary after this? It seems like it would be thicker than the actual rulebook.
We already are, don't worry.
Yeah, but it's encompassing loads of things. It's encompassing tactics, and some of these we might expand out on, right? We might start building
Specific
some lists.
videos on bubble wrapping.
Yeah, so do some videos. This is just the start of the conversation, because we as a group need to define it, and you guys as listeners need to define it, and then also chip in. So if you've got any thoughts or ideas, Twitter, Facebook, just message us. Because we want to add that to our lexicon so that it can become a thing that all gamers use. Because when we start doing a lot of live coverage for 40k in the future, like we did for Age of Sigmar, we're going to want everyone to be singing off the same hymn book. And we need to write the hymn book, right? Yeah. We need Jesus, though, if we're going to be the 3 wise men.
I don't think it works like that.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, you can have 2 wise men.
You 2 are the wise men. I'll be a donkey.
That's fine. Okay.
All right.
That's in camels and that. It's fine.
Yeah,
we can ride you through the desert.
So, what about what's an objective grabber?
Objective
Chaff.
grabber?
No, you've decided that already.
I would say a unit that either is fast moving, or can deploy further forward. That its specific role is to go and jump on an objective to claim it.
That might not even be its primary role, though. For example, I use Helverins as objective grabbers because they're quick and they're durable. But they're mainly there just to provide a little bit of extra shooting, and they're kind of cheap. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, they that's kind of maybe
it's a hybrid
dual
role.
purpose unit there. So
but equally, you could take something like an individual Chaos Space from a Mutilator, and what you can do about
an Chaos Spawn.
Yeah,
well, isn't it?
Exactly.
Isn't an objective grabber, while it can be done by any unit, isn't if you were in your list designing phase.
There's intent there, though.
Isn't it almost the exact opposite of the bully unit? Isn't it so low down on your opponent's priority list of murder?
I don't think many people actually even take it, because like normally what you do is you take a battalion, you've got 3 crappy troops choices in it, and then they just become your objective grabbers because you have very little else to do with them.
Yes.
Whereas with your list of Chaos Spawn are dedicated objective grabbers. With some of my lists I have Chaos Mutilators, so what they do is they're just Terminators with like toughness 5 and they're kind of shit. So what you just do is you just deep strike on objectives. No one can be asked to dedicate enough to knock them off the objective.
Which means you gain the objective.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic.
They're so hard to shift them. They don't do anything. They just stand there.
So they're almost the companion piece or the little brother of a bully unit. In that, like, in that other things take a higher priority in your list of murder.
They're like the Rippers from Tyranids. They arrive just to go and do the dirty work. Yeah.
Or
I completely cut you off. Sorry.
Once a transport has dropped off a unit.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, well, the unit in there is what's going to kill me, unless it's a particularly solid transport.
Wave serpents.
So, like, a rhino drops off its berserkers corn, for instance. Like, then they just go and grab objectives. So I suppose it's really like an in-game role.
And block stuff and charge things.
Yeah, but I suppose it's to there we go. Nick Lamborn says it's unassuming, being ignored or sneaking to take an objective. Sunny says a unit who's been trying to offer a unit whose best thing is to offer the fact that it exists.
Yes.
I will stand here.
I live!
Well, that's basically a screen, right? It's basically a screen. It's just there to be there.
Ixta says it's a unit in range of objective, obviously. Grot Gunners are my MVP objective grabbers. Eldar Rangers, because of their deployment and negative to hit rolls are quite good.
We were saying this. If your opponent has 3 units of Eldar Rangers and you have 3 objectives that they could potentially stand on them, every time the Eldar player will just stick the Rangers straight on that objective.
Yeah,
you know exactly what they're going to do. It's not even necessarily the best thing to do, but there's an objective there, and the Rangers don't die very easily.
This is where they live now.
Yeah, their objective secured. They're a pain in the ass to deal with. Just on the objective, like it might not even be.
And you hit on a good point there. Objective secured unit. So now
that's not a
current term, but we'll touch on that in a second. Playbearers are great objective grabbers.
Yes,
because they also don't die.
They also cover the entire board, not just the objectives.
Yes, objective secured is no longer a term, but you'll hear a lot of people on podcasts and shows say it. Objective secured is effectively troop choices from a codex. In fact, all
certain units that take priority over other units when holding objectives. But the way this works is weird. So, let's say one person has 5 models with objective secured on an objective.
Yeah.
And another player has 6 models, but only one of which has objective secured on an objective. The player with 6 models will get the objective.
Yes.
Because it's not the number of models with objective secured. It's not like objective secured tier. Who has the most models with objective secured on the objective? They get it. It's whoever has the most models, but if one player has objective secured and the other person doesn't, the player with objective secured gets it. It's an override.
Yeah.
I did a horrible job of explaining that because I decided to go into some extra rules knowledge because I like to show off.
Another term that we can touch on at this point when we're talking about objective grabbers, is we can also talk about MSU.
Yes, multiple small units.
Multiple small units. So it's an army that...
It's like your list.
Yeah, so it's an army that contains... And now, I don't have what the average 40k list has in unit numbers. And it has more now than it has in any other edition because characters can no longer be in units.
Depends on the list.
Well, knights. Then.
Well, yeah, so my Gene Stealer Cult list lasted around over 40 units in it.
You're in the last edition?
Yes.
Yeah. But so I don't know what the average is.
We have gravitate towards horde, but that doesn't necessarily mean we've got more individual units, because people are still looking for a +1 to go first.
Yes.
It means that we have more bodies.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
We have more. Yeah, we have more bodies on the board, but maybe
Correct.
not more units. So I don't know what the average number of units armies are.
Yeah.
But higher than previous.
I think it's around 12.
Right? You think it's around 12?
Yeah.
Nick, Nicholas, would you agree?
The number that just randomly popped into my head was 14.
Okay.
I'm not sure why. I was just sort of thinking back the lists I'd sort of written recently, and that seems to be because I tend to gravitate towards MSU style lists, and that seems to be about roughly where I end up, 14-ish.
Because MSU lists tend to have lots of units, obviously, and that means that lots of them can fulfill the role of also going and grabbing an objective. Yeah, which is a role as opposed to something you write into your army.
Yeah, and again, that can change based on context.
Yeah, absolutely. Fucking, we're getting here. We're getting words.
Nailing it.
Then words. We've done 25 words.
I've learned words. There's so many more to go. How are we doing? What time is it?
20 to 10.
Okay, we've got an hour and a bit. We're sorted. I think Facebook only lasts for 3 hours, so
okay, we can restart the stream.
If no, we're not going to restart. If you skip the Facebook thing and you miss it, or YouTube and it ends,
Get to
I don't
Twitch
know how long
now.
they go. Get to Twitch or finish it off on Twitch.
Yeah.
So a zonal control unit, or just zonal control, or board presence or board space are other terms that you might have heard.
So
I think that's just another derivation of screen.
Screen, yeah, I was going to say that, yeah, definitely.
It's literally just there to push units that are deep striking back.
Yeah, so it's all, it's kind of, does it fit into...
And you adapt anything into that. Like I stick my fastest in the back corner, like here.
Yeah, characters actually
just to stop
quite
you from
fantastic
getting back.
for zonal control, aren't they?
Because you can split them up.
Can't be targeted.
So how are we describing it?
So they're units that are on the board to deny space.
Are positioned specifically to deny space, I think.
Yeah, positioned on the board to deny space on the board where your opponent might be able to deep strike
Bring in reserves
units on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's to create an area of effect with models.
Stand there just to stand there.
Yeah, in
like
distance.
screen.
Yeah, they stand there just to stand there. But sometimes it's done by other stuff. Like list I took to the Heats when I had 3 Hellbrings. They basically could control the back of the board and shoot from the back of the board.
Because they've got long range.
Because they got long range, where they stopped units from deep striking or redeploying or infiltrating towards my back lines, which meant my back lines were safe, so my opponent can only arrive at me from the front. They come at me from the front, which I was very proud of. And now I've said it, so...
Come on. It's different from coming at you from behind.
Well, it did both jobs, didn't it? Did both jobs.
Yes.
Wait. He's not listening.
Sorry.
You're fine, you're fine. We're just bullying you, don't worry.
So zonal control. And I actually would argue that board control or board presence is massively important in your ability. And obviously movement produces that better, or numbers of bodies on the board also produce a better result from there. And then you've got hose. You say this a lot, Tom, sometimes. I think that's a Tom term.
Hose.
Yeah.
Hose.
As in, like...
Not your dates, Tom.
Sorry.
That was a great laugh. That was a laugh when someone tickles your nipple, that laugh.
My laugh has changed over the last few weeks. I think it's just clear stuff from the front, clear models from the front, I guess. Just the closest models to you, just clear them first. It's a form of target priority, I think.
Nurgly Guy's come up with a great thing. He says, you guys do need to write a book of terms. Half of it should be cheesy tactics, put in a section called the dictionary.
The dictionary.
What, dictation?
Yeah.
Do you remember Summer Heights High? It was a thing before Angry Boys.
That's just a Tom
not
term,
listening,
I think. You might hear him say sometimes, where he just means, I think, kill.
Kill stuff that's closest to you.
If I was an orc, I would probably describe it as a unit having lots of DACA.
Yes. So DACA being lots of shooting.
But the DACA being aimed at the unit that's closest to you.
So you would generally say it's the unit closest to you.
Yeah, it's like cutting the grass.
Okay.
So what about utility?
I think we're already done with buff. What's this? Buff unit.
Utility is what the word means, effectively, like what it can do for you. Something's utility can drop so far that it becomes chaff.
Yeah.
Or its utility is very
Well,
high.
the utility is that it's chaff, because being shit is a form of
usefulness all of itself because you can now throw it down on the board and not care what happens to it.
Would you guys say that a utility unit could be a unit that has lots of uses?
Yeah, potentially. Like, I don't think we have to create meaning.
Swiss
where
Army
meaning
unit
doesn't exist. I just think it's a word some people say a lot, and we all say it, like, it's got good utility. Yeah, means that it's probably multi-purpose, or it's got multi-role adaptability. It can hold an objective. It can become a screen. It can create board control.
It can have a buff function.
Like a tactical squad could be a perfect example of that. It's got objective secured, so it could be an objective grabber. You can have 10 in the unit, so it could be a reasonably good screen.
A good castle wall.
Good castle because you can put it in cover, have a 2-up save. You can put some anti-tank in there, so it can be good for anti-tank and things like that. Or you can use it as a hose because you can go rapid fire, lots of shots at the closest.
It's got so really solid utility.
Whereas a chaos spawn is an objective. Well, it's not got as much utility as tactical use. It's a screen in extreme circumstances. It's a zone of control unit and objective cover and chaff. Yeah.
Is the best that it'll ever be.
So it's actually a reasonably good utility unit.
Yeah, it sounds quite
good. But not quite as good as tactical.
Whereas, a really good example of a utility unit probably would be someone like Mortarion, who's also a force multiplier, which is also a term you might hear sometimes.
Yeah. Which is just kind of like a buff unit, but not.
Just in a super advanced buff unit. Yeah, although he isn't specifically a force multiplier, because although he does have an area which allows you to
-1 tough. Well, my area effect -1 toughness
and reroll to wound. So, he is a force multiplier. He increases the abilities of everyone around him just by his existence.
Well, not even just people around him, because if you lob him into the enemy army and you -1 toughness to everything, you improve the abilities of everyone else shooting at those things.
Yeah. Non-specialized unit is the opposite of a utility unit. Yeah. Oh, maybe.
Is that chaff? Is that chaff?
He is a bully. He's a buffer and a debuffer.
He is everything.
I love that people are going to be calling people. I like the idea that it's like, oh, that fucking bully unit. Yeah, that's fucking bullying my feelings. Yeah.
Sad.
Right. So I've got some terms from Magic. If you guys would like to hear about them.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. And this, I think, a term from Magic, which also somebody said in the 40k, I think. So you've got turning the corner or pivot.
Yeah.
So turning the corner is shifting your focus from defense to offense.
That's the switch in tempo.
Yeah. So switch in tempo or pivot as well.
The pivot is what I use pivot.
Go on, yeah.
Differently. So my pivot will be the unit in my list that I am reliant upon to win the game. So if a pivot breaks, the game's done, because my win condition is entirely based upon that unit.
So my bloodletters.
Yes. So if your bloodletters go, and you get no value out of your bloodletters, the game's done. Yeah. And the pivot is what you build everything else around.
Okay. So some lists don't have a pivot.
Right. So it's about the sum of its parts.
Yeah. But some lists may well have a pivot.
So for example,
and would we say if we're looking at a pivot, it more than likely is also a bully unit?
Can be. So for example, my pivot could be my Dark Reapers.
Yeah.
So okay, Dark Reapers, need to keep them alive. Weird servant. Okay, keep the Dark Reapers alive. Now what happens if you get into combat? Well, I've got all these stratagems that you can use on the Dark Reapers. So that'll keep them fine. Okay. How can I improve the efficiency of them? Well, I can guide them, and I can cast do another unit. Okay, Farseer, and put them on a bike.
So I would definitely, as an opponent to you, I would look at them and describe them as the bully unit then.
Right, you can do, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would describe them as. So I think maybe it's the same term.
I think the inference is that bully units you're not necessarily relied upon, because my Shining Spears are my bully unit. I lob them in. You have to deal with the Shining Spears, otherwise they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with the Shining Spears, you're not dealing with the Dark Reapers. And the Dark Reapers are
use the Shining Spears as both bully and bait at the same time.
Yes, so the difference is reliance. So with the pivot, you're relying upon that unit to carry the game for you.
Right.
Whereas the bully unit is right, deal with this.
Fantastic, yeah.
So it's like Poxwalkers and Mortarion.
So you use bait to protect your pivot.
Yeah, my pivot, yeah.
And use the bully to also protect, but the bait and the bully do different jobs to protect the pivot.
So the Shining Spears are a bully because they go forward and they kill the one thing that my Reapers are scared of.
Okay. Oh, nice. Great. Nick, what do you think?
I was rather confused by that whole last bit. There's a lot of words flying around.
Okay, from the turns before. So I think effectively what Tom's
saying
is that there's a unit you have in your army which will win you the game in your mind. Yeah. This is my win the game unit. So that's your pivot. It's pivotal. And also it might be the only unit you have. So let's say you are against loads of vehicles, loads of tanks, and you have one unit that's anti-tank.
Mm-hmm.
One. So that's your pivot because it's your key to victory. It's your key to killing all the tanks, and you've defined earlier on. You said killing all the tanks is the way that I need to win. That's my path to victory. So I use that. That kills them. So that's my pivot unit. If it dies, I lose. If it stays alive, I win. That's the plan. Your bully unit, while to your enemy, you're like, that's going to bully me. Your bully unit is something that, as we've defined, is used to control your enemy movement. Mm-hmm. So Tom hits them with the shining spears. They go in and they do all that. You have to deal with them, otherwise, in your first turn, let's say in the first turn, Tom charges the shining spears in. Your first turn, you have to deal with the shining spears, right? Because they're going to then go maybe through another part of your army, which means the Dark Reapers are again left alive, or the anti-tank unit are again left alive, which is what Tom really wants to produce as an effect. So he's used the bully unit to protect his pivot, which he really wants to keep alive. But they're also bait because he also wants you to go after them. So he's using them as both in that context. Whereas maybe if I was using Mortarion as an example, I would run Mortarion up. Let's say I wasn't quick timing him. I was just running him into the middle of the board. I'm like, next turn he's going to charge you. Yeah, but that's because I don't want you to start in on the Plague Bearer units at the back who are holding my objectives. One of those two. Yeah, so that's me using bait to protect those two pivot units, which are my Plague Bearers, as an example. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good...
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's some good terminology. Yeah. Nick Lambon says, pivot is when I turn my tank on its axis.
That is an official rules for turns.
Ixtab says, for
and
me,
also
pivot is a change of tack. So, in 40k, not 40k, sorry. In Magic, it's called turning the corner. Would you say that's a change of tempo? Different terminology.
They both just kind of cliched mean the same thing, I guess.
Which is shifting your focus from defense to offense or offense to defense.
Yeah.
You might have done so well in your damage.
Normally, I just call it a swing. It's just going to swing back the other way.
Okay.
So, which is like when you're talking to your coach at BTC, it's like, oh well, it's going well now, but it could swing.
Well, that's something I meant to bring up because obviously it's important to develop a gaming language because when you're at team events, so you guys must define, or surely you do, or maybe you don't, and it's not that professional yet. That's not meant to be insulting.
No, it's fine. Yeah, totally understandable.
Some people may not approach it. Surely, if one coach has to talk to 8 people, you would hope that he tells you to use all your chaff. He tells person A to use all the chaff, and then tells person D to use all the chaff, and they do different fucking things. Yeah, he's like, I didn't define what chaff was,
or what bully is,
or what bully is. Right, so like surely it's important that you guys all sing off the same hymn sheet, right?
Yeah, right.
Or have you found there's actually sometimes in the past been miscommunication, not from your team or from other teams, and that's actually an issue?
I would imagine that has happened.
So maybe you might have struggled at the ETC because you didn't speak Canadian.
You mean French?
Good point.
Hey.
Oh, great.
And now I don't speak French.
So bottleneck is another term. A limiting factor to be bottlenecked on mana is to have one or more things to do with your mana. So this is again a magic term. But the reason I thought it would apply is to feel like bottlenecked also is like what maybe we would describe as a tough matchup. So I'm against all Imperial Knights and I only have anti-infantry. So I've reached a bottleneck at that point, and I don't know if there's another term for that right now. We describe it as a bad matchup, but it's just I don't have the capacity, or I'm at a point where I can't do something like my like that's. I don't know if we have a term for that apart from bad matchup, but that seems to be like it's a bit of an all-encompassing term, and I don't know if we can define it more.
I guess what I'm getting from that is. Again, I'm going to refer back to my recent experience at the Hellstorm event. In my last game, the mission and my opponent, because it was kill points mainly, and I was playing knights, and I had MSU salamanders.
Yes.
So I was bottlenecked into one path to victory.
There we go.
Table my opponent.
I
had one route to victory. That was it.
I feel like it was a metaphorical bottleneck and a literal bottleneck. So at VTC, Ricky Sims was playing with his Flyer's Elba.
Yeah.
And he was playing against Orcs, and the Orc player had it down as he was going to smash Ricky. So what Ricky did was he put his Flyers out, where he had left one little gap between his Flyers.
Yeah. And
all the Orcs just come pouring through and just get shot.
Right. Yeah, so that was a physical bottleneck.
That was a physical bottleneck, whereas there was more of a metaphorical bottleneck where you were forced into one
kind of
Yeah,
action.
bottleneck is like a militaristic term, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, like
300.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the map on it,
It's a dead man's land. Yeah, so that there's a gaming bottleneck and a thingy bottleneck. But I just thought it was a really interesting term and applicable because we do describe it as a bad matchup.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the right term for it, but it also means, because Tom, this is a good point, like that I've learned from you when you're at the ETC, is you would say, okay, I'm not going to win this game, but I could maybe get 5 points. I'm going to lose this game, and so you might.
Depends how you define lose.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by bottleneck. You look at a game and you think, right, I can't possibly win this game because of the matchup necessarily, or I'm bottlenecked in that I can't kill all those Imperial Knights. Yeah, but how can I win this game or lose the least?
How can I get more points than my team expects me to get?
Or I expect to get.
Yes.
Like, if I want to try and win this tournament, I probably have to win every game. But, okay, this matchup's bad for me, I'm bottlenecked here, but drawing, or having a minor victory or just a minor loss means that I'm actually still going to progress as well as I can progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not just flat over, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was interesting.
So, yeah.
So diversifying, intentionally choosing a variety of different cards on all the same card. So diversifying, obviously, I would say is an all-comers list. We have that term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is often when what would you say about? Can you describe an all-comers list?
No, because I don't really see them in ETC format.
Okay.
They're pretty extreme. It's like, this is my list, this is how it works. Good.
I guess it's a list that's designed to fare reasonably well in a range of matchups. So you've got a bit of anti-infantry in case you can cover against the Horde. You've got some anti-tank in case you cover against an Imperial Guard armor column, or Knights, or whatever. You've got some anti-psyker in case you cover against Smite Spam, etc., etc. So you've got a little bit of, you've got elements of each type of offense and defense available to you, just in case you come up against those
And then the opposite of that obviously is a polarized list where it's all infantry. So all of your anti-tank means nothing. Yeah. Or it's all tanks, so all your anti-infantry does nothing.
Or it's more, the list is meant to do one job.
Yes.
And that's just how it works. It's like, well, this is my knight list. Either you can kill my knights or you can't kill my knights.
Yeah, and again, an all-comers list probably has a lot of utility. Like lots of units have lots of purposes and lots of redundancy as well. So like you've got, and we'll touch on that in a sec. Right, so I got an interesting story.
Oh, good.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was writing my show notes today.
Oh.
And I was at Broadway Cafe, which is just around the corner here. And I was having
Not
a
giving
coffee.
away our location, of course.
We're underground at Games Workshop HQ. And I was having a coffee, and I was writing my show notes, and I was really excited. I was reading loads of stuff, and I was like, I can get myself another coffee. Went inside, and there, at the bar, going to the cinema, was Mr. Jervis Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Games Workshop fame.
Yeah.
We're, not friends, but we know each other, to say hi. Said hello, he's going to the cinema. That seemed like he was having a nice day. Yeah, and he was like, what are you up to? And I was like, I told him about tonight. I was like, write my show notes. It's quite cool that you get to talk about one of the most influential game designers of all time and just bump into him.
Yeah.
Right? And it was interesting that it was today of all days. And I said, I talked to him and I said, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm terms and ideas and explaining them and exploring them. He was like, that's really interesting. He said the one that he's really interested in at the minute, which is cool. So this is from Jervis, is
Great.
system mastery. So this is a term that apparently has been bandied around a lot by him, maybe in the rules team as well. System mastery.
Okay.
And it is someone who understands all of the rules of a system and thus can use it better. I thought that was quite cool. I was like, I can't wait to tell this story later. I was like,
Very rare.
incredibly rare.
So normally what we end up doing is asking each other what our armies do, and then just working on the fly.
So system mastery.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Chuckabuddy.
Because the rules change so quickly.
That's
for
like
40K.
Enlightenment.
Huh?
That's like Enlightenment.
You're just some kind of like Zen 40k player sat on top of like a table war mat. Just...
Yeah. Now I have read an article recently by that Mr. Nick Nanavati chap, and he said it's impossible to learn all of the things that you need to learn, like all of the data sheets and all of the stratagem, and some of learning some of it is superfluous.
Yes,
like
correct.
Some of the stratagems are just a bit trashy. I would argue that there's a bit of a dangerous trap to fall into where you don't learn enough.
Yes, of course. But
I would
equally,
say.
there's a dangerous trap to fall into where you don't play games and you just read all the time.
Pardon me?
Equally, it's a dangerous trap to fall into where you don't play games and just read all the time.
Exactly.
So a lot of the time when I'm playing games, I'm playing against armies that I'm not familiar with. So I'm learning how to adapt on the fly to what my opponent's army does.
Yes. And then after the game, reevaluating your list and saying, what problems did that arm, what roles or functions...
What could I have done better if I'd known what that army did at the start?
Yes.
Fully.
Yeah, and then also, like, is there a problem so severe in here that it breaks how my way plays?
Which is why I'm gravitating more towards just playing one faction now. So I'm just going to play Eldari.
Yeah.
Because if I can get Eldari absolutely nailed, completely understand everything there is to know, then it makes it easy for me to just adapt to whatever I'm facing.
Which again really ties into my you should play an army for a year system.
Yeah.
Yeah. One army.
But you said you want to lose to learn, Tom. You won't lose many games with Eldari.
Well, I will. Have you not seen me play practice games?
But anyway, so system mastery effectively is you know everything there is to know. Now, some people, why don't we put system mastery as opposed to mastery? Why don't we put it as a sliding scale? People have a more competent system mastery than other people. Mm-hmm. You know, so your system mastery might be like at 83%, 100% is unattainable.
It's like unemployment.
Yeah. Right. Whereas 20%, 50% is fairly, and probably there should be a certain amount of system mastery that you are very au fait with. For instance, the core rules.
Yeah. What should everyone aim for?
Yeah. Well, the core rules and everything in the FAQ should be something that you cast iron know.
Yeah.
Can you consolidate after you've wiped out a unit or before? How much do all of your command points cost?
I know that now.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to know it to win games.
Yeah, what's the casting value of, this range of your spell, of your psychic powers, because obviously that's important for movement. Bunch of stuff. You should have some fairly good, at least system mastery of your army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why in my opponent's turn, when I'm thinking about what I'm going to do my turn, if I'm not certain of something, I just pull my book out and just read it. Yeah. Unless it's hamstringing myself on stratagems, in which case I'll just hamstring myself in a biggie.
Anyway, I thought it was cool to run into him, right?
Yeah.
That was fun. And I was like, oh, okay. Right, so some more turns. 1+1. Have you heard of that before?
2.
1+1?
Yeah.
No. In terms of a gaming turn?
Gaming turn.
No.
So 1+1 is been stolen from, it was stolen from someone, I think. Effectively, it's this. I've got an anti-infantry unit, and I have an anti-vehicle transport. I take the and I have an anti-vehicle unit.
An anti-vehicle vehicle.
So what I do is I put the anti-infantry unit inside the anti-vehicle transport and the anti-vehicle unit inside the anti-infantry transport. So I diversify the two units. So instead of having a single one, it's not like I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just describing what it is.
It's the same logic as MSU.
Yeah. You have so many different. You can't. The way that targeting works is you have to pour a bunch of fire into one unit, right? Mm. So if you have all of it in one unit, it's just like, well, I'm just going to fire everything into that unit then, because if I get any overflow, it's not wasted. I've killed the unit. I got what I wanted.
Yeah, I've killed all of. Yeah, if you put the anti-infantry in the anti-infantry transport, and then you kill that, now your infantry's safe. But if you diversify, then you're only half debilitating yourself.
But equally, you can create redundancy with that. So let's say you're sending you've got an infantry unit which has one anti-infantry weapon and one anti-vehicle weapon, and you send it after infantry. Well, that anti-vehicle weapon is wasted. Or you send that unit after a vehicle, that anti-infantry weapon is wasted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I loved the term when I read it. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's useful.
Is there a better way? Is there an easier way? Because I think if I tried to raise that with someone,
1+1.
Yeah, and then I'd have to explain it all out. Is there an easier term we could come up with for that?
Maybe something we could talk about after.
Yeah,
maybe. Just because I'm worried about overrunning.
Yeah.
Then the other one is right. So the new all-comers list, we've covered that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we know what that means. Alpha Strike, we've covered that. So bandwagon.
Hey.
Yeah, you hear this?
Bandwagon.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I bust out my metal swooping hawks and I stick my little finger in someone's face.
What do you think?
So it's I guess it's either when there's a new release and lots of people jump on,
because it's the new sausage.
Jump on that. So lots of people decide to play one thing all at once because either it's new or lots of other people are using it. So a particularly good player might win a tournament with X army, and then lots of other people will decide that's good, and then decide to play army X.
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah,
or maybe a new shiny army comes out.
I think it's flavour of the month, effectively. Yeah, it's jumping on the bandwagon like Custodian's Bikes. Like,
I remember, where are they now?
well, yeah, but like, you know, they came out and like someone won a couple of people won some tournaments, custodies bikes. Yeah, and it's just like,
Jeff.
Also, bandwagoning is also very close with like just the new broke, right?
Yeah.
You know, that Games Workshop releases a codex, they've made a massive fuck up.
Yeah.
But you can buy and build it in a day, and then for 3 weeks you're the king of the hill.
You can't bandwagon Eldar because they're always broke.
Yeah, well, you can bandwagon them, I guess, because they're just constantly. It's like it's been an 8-year bandwagon, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not getting off yet. No,
it's full. It's
thank Mr. Kelly.
This bandwagon's full, baby.
Hey, Phil, don't break my book.
Yeah,
it's fine as it
Phil
is.
does background writing, not rules writing.
Yeah, but he loves Eldar.
He does love it. He loves lots of.
He gives him really cool narrative with all kinds of OP tricks.
He's a babe. Phil Kelly effectively told me to fuck off on Twitch the other day, which made me chuckle loads.
Did he?
Yeah. Because he was doing an Age of Sigmar lore thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Phil. I intentionally went and wrote on it. I was like, hey, Phil.
What,
can
in
you tell me
Twitch
about
chat?
Chaos Dwarves? Yeah, and then because they're written by Forge World background writers, and he's a Citadel background writer, the head one. Yeah, he effectively has no control, nor possibly even any understanding or knowledge of them. Yeah, I'm sure he does because he's pretty smart, but like you know, it's not his sphere. So by asking him, not only was I saying like, Phil, fuck you. Yeah, I was doing it in what seemed to be to everyone else a very polite way. He then just said to me live on the air, he went, yeah, Rob. No, he went, yes, interesting, those fellas. They've just got a bunch of new rules on the Forge World website. I suggest you check them out, which is basically a really polite way of saying, fuck you.
You dick. Did he know it was you, by the way?
Yeah, he knew it was me. Yeah, that was good. I was like, oh, he is smart. He is a smart person. Anyway, bandwagoning, I would say avoid that if you can. Because more than likely, if it's a problem unit, Games Workshop
will fix it.
Or the community will fix it. Either
Unless
through designing other lists that beat it.
Yeah.
Or through comp.
Unless the Dark Reapers.
Yeah.
Dab live on air. Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah. The meta-ban rooms, certain Imperial Suit lists, or the talk lists, yes. And people responsible for bandwagoning, and for people...
Is the bandwagon bubble a thing?
Like house prices.
Bandwagon bubble.
Like it's popped.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, maybe we should start our bandwagon of the week.
The bandwagon's still just high.
There you go, yeah. Week, and then we can be
There's
like,
too many.
And people responsible for bandwagoning are obviously content producers like us. You know, like us, but I think we often try to avoid it where possible.
Hey, I heard there's this new Ironclad Dreadnought list.
No, not that. You know, I'm more mean someone's like, these are incredibly points undercosted. You should take those, and then everyone does for like 3 weeks.
It's harder now because if someone says, "Hey, these flying hive tyrants are really undercosted, you should take them," you can't take 10.
Yeah, you can take 3.
You can
but
take
some
3.
units that you can still take in multiples, right?
Well, you can take 9 Talos, for example.
As an example.
Yeah.
Right. Bait strike with good blob is...
Ooh.
We'll go for it.
Big unit of infantry.
Something. Yeah, of infantry.
Typically infantry,
Yeah, typically infantry. So it's just a big...
Came from the old guard blob list.
Yeah,
Sorry, I keep getting historical today.
It's okay. Well, that's both positive and the negative of some of the terminology.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Which is like...
I just keep going old man Leighton on everyone. It's not good.
Comp?
When a tournament organizer artificially introduces their own rules, which have an impact on the list that may or may not stand.
Yeah, so the definition I have here is a scoring handicap where a tournament event will assign points to a list to determine how hard it is, usually based on whether what is popular at the time. Thus, it's possible to win every battle in a comped event, yet lose simply because your list is better.
I don't think that's correct, because that is one particular method of comp, where basically that's like a Swedish comp method, whereby you assign points to a list based on how strong you perceive them to be. Mm-hmm. Whereas that's not the only way of comping things. For example, you could introduce your own rule. So let's say, maximum of 2 psychics per army. That's a comp, but it's not the same.
Yes, so a comp is effectively house rules.
Yes.
Brought into effect whatever the TO is attempting to achieve.
Hellstorm Wargaming, where you had, you could only take 1 faction keyword. That's comp.
Yeah, right, cool. Right, next up, Daisy Chain.
Daisy Chain?
It's like sparse screen.
It's kind of, it's not really, I'd say it's probably similar to, is it the same as conga lining?
So Daisy Chain, you've got Daisy Chain, conga lining.
So you're spreading a unit out in a long line, not necessarily straight, in order to gain some sort of advantage, either collecting a buff from a buff piece, or going and grabbing an objective, or zoning out the board.
Yeah, a really good example is a unit of 30 orc boys, near Gazgul Thraka, right? So what you do, or Abaddon, yeah. So what you do is and the reason it's called a daisy chain is because it effectively looks like a flower, right? You've got the stem, which is running from Gazgul, and you're gapping out each model as much as possible, leading to the flower of orc boys at the end, and their job is to what you're trying to do is maximize the extra attacks that you're getting from Gazgul Thraka, so you've plus 1 attack to the unit, while at the same time, and also makes them probably like immune to leadership and morale checks. So I can't remember exactly his data sheet in a minute. And then maximizing how many attacks that you get, like when you charge into combat. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you've daisy chained to the buff piece is almost always the reason. Or even you would just daisy chain to the other orc boy unit so that you can use their leadership for morale checks. So you now leadership 30. Yeah, that's a good example.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite often true with buff pieces. I think that's usually the biggest effect when it's just a buff that's a unit within, instead of a unit wholly within. Is where you'll find daisy chaining coming into effect quite a lot.
Yeah, me and my friend Andy used to like to call it finesse conga lining.
Finesse conga lining.
when it's not just like a straight line, if it's like a nice curve snaking around. Often it's snaking for no reason, just to make it look fancy. Yeah.
So Zemaniz has made a really good point. Why is bandwagoning so negative? If something is good and everyone knows it, why shouldn't someone play it? If that's how they enjoy the game, playing good units to be competitive, why persecute someone for trying to do what they can to win a competitive game? Seems like double standards. We want a competitive scene, but we'll put down if you use good units. I would say that this is resplendent in all of human interaction. Right. So and that's why Nick mentioned the bubble, right?
Right.
Things are popular for a while. As an example, I am a nightclub DJ. You guys know that. So trending things are have always been something I've needed to stay abreast of, and that happens with music. Why is everyone listening to music at some point, and then everyone goes, it's been so overplayed. Yeah. It's just a natural part of what people human beings go through as a process. Yeah. And obviously Wargamer is going to be an example of that.
Yeah, I don't personally give a shit, because the most fun I had in 40k was when everyone was running Ynnari, because I knew I could win the Ynnari mirror matchup every time, but it was always interesting anyway. The problem is, it's especially when you've got a new book coming out every time, if you don't inherently understand a book, it's kind of counterproductive. So if I were to pick up a new army every single month based on what's strong, I would, first of all, it cost me a lot of money.
Perceived to be strong.
Perceived to be strong, yes. Yeah. So, first of all, it cost me a lot of money. Second of all, it's not going to guarantee me results because I don't appreciate or have enough time to practice that list and understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my point. I think bandwagoning isn't good for you as a gamer because, like Tom says, it costs you a lot of money. So I think it's better for your wallet to not be a bandwagoner. And I think it's better for you as a player to not be a bandwagoner. Long term, because it goes back to our discussion about playing an army for a year. You play that army all year, you become a much better gamer in general, and also just with that.
Yeah, and also and also to touch on that, it's a short winning that tournament. Why it might be something you desperately want to do. It's a short-term game, where it really depends on where we see playing Warhammer competitively goes. If long-term advantage, slow process, but you lose a lot, or you practice with a suboptimal army for a long time, you'll just be a better gamer if you ever give yourself those powerful tools eventually.
The counter-argument to that is that, if you say, well, because I've played every army, I've kind of played every army at some point, right? You say, I've played every army, therefore my system mastery is higher because I know what more things do. But if you are changing army that rapidly, you don't have time to fully learn the book or understand the book. I'm still learning things about Eldar.
Yeah. And Olavu makes a good point there. Does anyone remember Pokemon Go?
Yes.
Yeah. So big bubble, now no one plays it, right? Yeah. And also there's a thing, being in the bandwagon as well is also really easy to meta predict. So some people you might hear that term. So if I was going to a tournament at the weekend, let's take an example. Like, there would be armies I would expect to see at a tournament. Like knights, I think are a bubble at the minute. You know, they're in that kind of like, there's lots of them, they're easy to play, they're easy to build, they're easy to produce, they're fairly competitive, and they can be tough to people who have an answer to. They're all bully units, right? So and you've got loads of defensive depth in that, like one dies. While that's bad, you've still got basically the same output from the others.
Right. It kind of feels like you're also chasing the meta as well, because if you are seeing a list and you want to bandwagon on it, because you're expecting it to do well at events, guess what? Everyone else is expecting it to do well at events.
So they counterpick.
Which means everyone else is building to play against that.
Yeah.
And then something beats it. And they're like, oh, this is the new hotness. I'll go and play that. And then everyone else is playing that. And then everyone else builds to play that. And so on and so forth. You're constantly one step behind. Rather than creating something new and innovative and something that you actually understand, you're playing a list you don't understand properly, but slightly behind the meta, and will probably get beaten in the later rounds.
And also what's important is if you take a counter meta build, or even just something people aren't expecting, something a bit left field, and also, like, we're not saying that, do that and you'll just win, because the reason that people jump onto a bandwagon army as an example is probably because they're really strong and they probably will just win the tournament. Yeah, absolutely. But people also won't know how to play your army.
Yeah.
They won't know what to do. Like, when I took the Bulgarians at the weekend, people were like, what the fuck do these do? And then they were like, nope. And like, they were blown away, and that's really cool. Same with your Bloodletters, Nick. That's something. Whereas, like, I play Eldar, while I don't have full system mastery of Eldar, if I played against them, I'd be like, okay, I understand that too.
You say that. My round 4 opponent at the Heat didn't know what Dark Reapers did.
That must have been an experience, right?
His Storm Surge got one shot.
Yeah, good.
Before the shooting phase.
Just wondering, he says, because I don't care either way regarding bandwagoning, but in a competitive computer games like LoL, you don't see pros saying they won't use champions because it will be good next patch. It's more an arms race to see who can adapt to what's good at that time.
Well, I think the difference is that they don't necessarily have to pay for that champion, do they?
No, they don't have to. Like, they can just start playing with it that day. We have to. We also have the production meta, which is lighter.
This is the thing. Yeah, with LoL pros, you can get up and start playing, but it changes every the patches are every 2 weeks, right? But you can play like 10 games before, like, with a champion before you play on the LCS stage, right?
Yeah,
like easily, no problem. But also, most of LoL is just about knowing the basics, and then you can master the champions on top. So, for example, I've got players like Bjergsen, which can just pick up the new Akali and just smash people with it.
Yeah.
Because he understands the fundamentals so well. Mm-hmm. Whereas with 40k, a lot of that is fundamentals, but then a lot of that is nuance and understanding exactly what... It's different. You've got more components in a 40k army than you do in a LoL character.
Yeah. Except my hobby doesn't provide opportunities for feeling arbitrarily morally superior. What is the point? That's great.
Yeah, if people want to do it, they do it, but I just don't... If people want to do it, but I just don't think it's particularly good for them.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for them as people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, as in, like,
your
gaming prowess. Yeah, as players. Daka, loads of shooting. Like, it's just a lot of firepower.
Do we need to define meta as well?
Yes.
Might as well. Meta stands for most efficient tactic available.
Oh, okay, wow. There you go. Most efficient tactic available. But effectively what it means is what people expect to see at a tournament.
Most perceived effective tactics available.
Yeah. Wait, most...
Mapita.
Is it called Mapita?
Mapita.
Most perceived...
Mapita. Take the furs off those space wolves, please, Mapita.
What's the Mapita currently? I don't know. Okay. And what we mean by that is let's say everyone thinks Knights are the best at the minute, although I would say it's Drukhari.
Yes.
In my opinion.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Necrons, I would say.
Tesseract Vaults.
Right. Yeah. While they're the Mapitas, that means that you can build to beat them. Probably can't beat Drukhari, but whatever. You can try real hard.
What beats Drukhari?
Drukhari.
Oh, the Drukhari!
Another Drukhari army.
That goes first.
Going first.
Yeah, going first.
Someone smarter than me will come up with something.
Someone has to, because otherwise we're all fucked. Defense in depth was that thing I talked about. So multiple lines to mitigate effects of blitzkrieg armies.
What's that, sorry?
Defense in depth.
Defense in depth.
Yeah, so that's building multiple lines.
Screens upon screens.
Yeah, screens upon screens.
Screen section.
There's also that thing of redundancy, another term you might hear people as well. So if I like a thing, sometimes I'll take 3 of a thing. If you kill one thing, I've still got the other 2 things to do the job.
Or 10 Hive Tyrants.
Yeah, and that redundancy can come in from, well, not that now, but that redundancy can come in from, I've got an anti-vehicle unit, I've got an anti-vehicle tank, and I've got an anti-vehicle flyer.
So what I'm thinking about doing is I've got about 250 points of stuff I can afford to drop in my list. Just taking another unit of smaller Shining Spears, just in case not because I think double Shining Spears is good, but because I think if you kill the first unit of Shining Spears, I've got a backup. So I don't have to try and get people to shoot my Rangers.
Wow.
Yeah. He was busy.
I was so listening, I promise.
That's okay, it's okay.
So an old Warhammer term that you hear, yeah, MEQ, GEQ, and TEQ, so EQs.
Marine equivalent,
yeah,
Guardsman equivalent, and Terminator equivalent.
So the idea is that it's a unit that's equivalent to that.
So
I say that doesn't count anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So Terminator equivalent will effectively be 4+, toughness 4, 2+ save. Marine equivalent would be toughness 4, 3+ save.
Because in previous editions, they would always be toughness 4 with a 2+ save, always be toughness 4 with a 3+ save, or always be toughness 3 with a 5+ save.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now with AP affecting saves.
Yeah. And also the difference between toughness 3 and toughness 4 was greater, because strength 5 would wound on 2s against toughness 3, whereas strength 6 would wound on 2s against toughness 4.
So we're cancelling those terms.
Correct.
Deleting them from history.
They're out. Yeah? If you're out there and you love those terms, get out.
Erase them from your brain.
Yeah.
We don't want your money here. Joke, please give us money.
Right. We talked about linchpin, or pivot. Linchpin or pivot.
Both.
Yeah.
Whatever
so there we go. Flying circus. Again, delete that. No longer a thing.
They killed my tyrants.
If someone says, I've got loads of flying things, I've got a flying circus, go, that is an old term, you old person, and go get them some Werther's Originals.
I remembered some flying circuses.
It's unavailable now. It doesn't mean what it once meant.
9 vendettas.
Yeah. Right, null deployment is now impossible.
Yeah, you can get 50% deployment.
But if you guys understand what that means, the null deploy previously meant that you would not deploy anything on the board.
Pretty much anything, because if you have nothing, you get tabled.
Yeah, exactly. But and it's arguable you could do a null deployment of your valuable assets.
Yeah.
So your linchpin unit, or your bully unit, and you can not have them on the board so they can't maybe get alpha strike.
Right.
So that's a concept, but the idea of having most everything off the board so your opponent's first turn is wasted is not really an idea anymore.
Yeah, even then that was risky though, because Magnus could come on turn 4, because he had to roll to see if stuff came on.
Yes. So I would say null deployment's not really a thing.
Delete.
Because it's encompassed into beta striking.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. So pincering. Any clue?
I've got a bit of pinching. Pincering.
Oh, we need to do pinching as well. That's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
That'd be attacking on 2 fronts.
Okay. Yeah, pincering is effectively, imagine I've got, let's think of something that's really hard. 10 custodies. Yeah? Right, infantry, in a line.
Oh, I took that.
And then I attack one side, and I attack the other side, and now, because they have to maintain coherency, all 10 can't attack one of the units of the other unit, so I've pincered the unit, so it's a problem with having your units in a line, as in physically in a line, and it just means that you can minimize how much attacks your opponent can do.
It's also worth talking about tagging there at that point as well, because tagging is where effectively you charge something into the very tip of the unit, so you get the minimum number of guys attacking you back as possible.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
As for pinching, that is where you have an infantry unit, and then the way you consolidate and pile in means that the enemy unit physically can't get outside of 1 inch of you, which means you are locked in combat, meaning you can't be shot at.
Okay, nice. Okay. You got one, Nikos?
I had one. I don't know if anyone's... Well, I call it a dead drop. Anyone heard of that before?
No, but can I just say that Warhammer says it's like hammer and anvil, but you've got 2 hammers, talking about pinching. And also, we already have this term in Age of Sigmar, we call it double dicking.
Okay. Good to know you guys are more mature than that.
Go on, Nikos, sorry.
So, I like to use a lot of dead drops in Age of Sigmar and also in 40k.
Yeah.
So in Age of Sigmar, when I was playing my Lizard Men, my dead drops were my Camo Skinks.
Yes.
Because it's the first, so I typically had like 5 or 6 units. So my first 5 or 6 deployments were nothing. Like I'm not giving anything. I'm not giving anything away. And then I'd use it a lot in 40k with my sort of beta strike style armies. So typically my first deployments are like Bloodletters in the Sky, Bloodletters in the Sky, Demon Prince in the Sky, Herald in the Sky, something else in Deep Strike. So my first 5 or so deployments give nothing away to my opponent. So that I term that as a dead drop because it's a deployment, but it gives nothing away.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like I do that a lot as well. That's like I think there's a whole deployment phase worth of like terminology in the deployment phase. I think is super important. So it goes back to asking you a question: what you're trying to achieve when you're winning the game. But yeah, hold on. I've got a bunch of like interesting ones, but then I'll just go for ones that are really command point farming.
Guardsman.
But what? And this also is the guard battery. So, what's the guard battery first?
That is 2 company commanders, one of which has, what's it called? I know the relic is called the Kurov's Aquila.
Kurov's Aquila, and the command trait is Grand Strategist.
Grand Strategist, you got it. And then 3 units of infantry squads. So that is about 180 points, so 60 points for the 2 commanders, and 120 points for the guardsmen. And that means that you get command points back every time your opponent uses a stratagem on a 5+.
And every time you use a stratagem on a 5+.
Yeah. And then if you have a Blood Angels army in there, forces there as well, you can give a Blood Angels Captain Veritas Vitae. And then you have 2 chances to get it back on a 5+.
Yeah.
So if you...
Isn't there a Knight one as well? I heard the guys on the Forge Narrative podcast talk about some Knight.
However,
you get an extra command point on that.
Yeah, that company commander is easily the strongest company commander in the history of all.
It's like there's that meme with the spaceman carrying the guard, and it's like, don't die, I need you for my command point.
Yeah. So that's command point farming. Although some armies can and some armies can't do command point farming, and the most abusive version of command point farming is done by the guard battery.
Or just Imperial.
Can we not delete this from the game? Is it not possible?
Yeah, please. Just
well, it's not my decision, is it? I'm just like we're telling people it exists.
And it should die.
I just want to delete it.
Yeah, we all agree. It's awful. Apart from me, who's been using it. It's great fun.
It's always much better when you use it. It's like having a diving footballer on your team.
Yeah. You just like, every time, like, also it's a fun sub-game. Even if you lose it, and you're like, someone goes, right, okay, I'm going to use a stratagem and basically beat you. And I'm like, but do I get a command point? Bloodletter Bomb.
Bloodletter Bomb?
What's the Bloodletter Bomb? Bloodletter Bomb guy?
Bloodletter Bomb, it's
just a bully unit with deep strike.
Lots of bloodletters that appear as if from nowhere, and make a very reliable charge and stab you in the face.
Make a big noise.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. There are probably like some very codex specific terms that we're going to miss, but that's fine. We've done that. So scalability, the ability for a particular strategy, army build, or ability to work as point levels increase. Some options, defensive shooting, or buffs, scale exponentially. As in a gun line with Gulliman, the more things you stick around Gulliman that can reroll hit and reroll to wound, it scales really well.
Yeah. Whereas
Azrael, who can give a 4-up invulnerable save to Dark Angels, infantry, can only fit so many bodies around him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't...
It's, what's that economic term? Where...
Economies of scale.
Yeah. No, it's not economies. It could be. It's not what I'm thinking of, but it's close enough. It's when you have. So let's say you have 2 workers on a farm, and they do a bunch of work. But if you had a 3rd worker, it does even more work than the ratio between the 2 farmers suggests. And then you had a 4th farmer, that farmer does very, very little compared to there's only so much work to be done.
I think I know what you mean, but
yeah. And I'll tell us. It'll be fine.
Right. Seal clubbing we've covered. Shenanigans we've covered. Oh, shenanigans is
just messing around.
Yeah.
Me.
So you've got. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is a cool term.
Give it to me.
Scornergy.
What the fuck is that?
Scornergy?
Scornergy.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, me either, and I don't think it's something that's used in 40k, but it's worth exploring the concept a little bit. AKA fake synergy. The term actually comes from hordes, as in War Machine hordes, and is an inherent problem in modern game design. Scornergy is what happens when units grant specific buffs or have specific interactions with specific units, resulting in the illusion of synergy. Yeah? So it would be, then they go on to give an example from War Machine and hordes. So it's like taking them to, so it's basically taking some sort of synergy, but it results in a poorly performing army. So yes, Unit A might buff Unit B, but both Unit A and Unit B suck. A good example, in my opinion, yes, go for it.
Necrons.
All Necrons.
Well,
so basically the combination
warriors and Cryptex.
So what do cryptex
So
do?
warriors reanimate naturally on a 5+.
Yeah.
Cryptex give them a +1 to that.
Yeah.
So that could be a skill because I pay for 20 warriors and a cryptech, but my opponent goes and they delete all the warriors. So I don't get anything out of that synergy. Or one survives, and in my opinion, a 4+ isn't that amazing.
For the points you pay.
For the points you pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or let's say you have like I'm going to use Grenades. I don't even know if he buffs, but Castle and Crow. I don't know. Does he buff anything? I don't know. He works with purifiers.
Yeah.
So you take purifiers. Oh, I'm going to make the purifiers better. I'm going to take this character that makes the purifiers better. So you got this big unit of purifiers, and yeah, the purifiers are really good. They do so much work, but you pump so many points into the purifiers.
There are too many points now.
Here's the example from League of Legends.
Well, I got an example from 40k again.
Oh, that's good. There
so
you go.
you've got a character that allows you to reroll disgusting resilient save rolls of 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking him.
Well, I was going more something else. So let's say you've got a champion in League of Legends. It takes all the farm in the game, and no one else gets any farm, and everyone else is super weak. But this character's super strong, and then that character gets caught out and dies. The amount that you invested didn't yield enough return.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's Aeos Battalions may be a fertile squanergy ground, says Ixtab, I agree with that. But it's
I don't know Aeos.
It's the concept where you see something and you think, I can do this thing, but actually that's probably...
It could be funny, though.
It could be, absolutely, and in some cases it sounds great, and in some cases it's not.
Maybe like having a Charybdis with 18 Plague Marines, and it probably isn't efficient, but it's funny.
Warhammer catfishing, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Warhammer catfishing might be our way of... It's easier. Warhammer catfishing.
Debated.
Yeah. Yeah, we've changed it. We've taken it away from War Machine and Hordes. It's Warhammer catfishing. Or wargaming catfishing.
Alright.
Not many left now, dudes.
Oh, that's fine.
Super Friends doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Delete it forever. If anyone says that, say it's like Super Friends.
Delete.
Tabled. Or tabling.
Kill all your opponent's models.
Yeah. Or I got tabled. All of my stuff was...
I have been killed.
Yes. Tailoring. List tailoring.
Building a list specifically to beat one other kind of list.
Yes. Or just your mate.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, it's pretty rude.
Unless you're tailoring to beat the meta. Or
unless your mate's a dick.
Unless the Mapeta.
Mapeta.
No, it's
Mapeta.
Is it perceived...
most efficient tactic available, but I added perceived.
Most perceived. So Mapeta.
Mapeta.
Yeah, okay. So you should tailor for Mapeta.
Yes.
Right, okay.
We're looking...
Tar pitting doesn't really exist anymore because you can fall out of combat.
Yeah, but you can't fall out of combat and charge. Unless for 7 years.
That's true. But I would say that's more...
We delete it anyway.
Delete that term. And then finally, win at all costs.
Wow.
Being a knob.
Something Mardy fucks say when they can't play Warhammer all the time. Yeah. And also dickheads.
I just like winning. That's like seal clubbing.
I think it's covered. I think win at all costs is something people use, like it's a really negative term that some people use to bully other people, and it also describes the actions of people who cheat or are dickheads.
Yeah, just dickheads.
Yeah. It's dickheads either side of the fence.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's dickheads everywhere.
There's dickheads everywhere, yeah. Oh, WYSIWYG.
What you see is what you get. Isn't that covered in the rules?
That's covered in the rules, but worth covering.
Yeah, of
What's
course.
WYSIWYG?
What you see is what you get.
Which means...
your models had the weapons they're meant to have.
That's right, happy friends, or whatever they're called.
Super friends.
So don't...
No, the guys over in America.
Yeah,
who are at that
don't
time.
have a plasma
Team
pistol
Happy.
on your model when you don't actually have one in your list.
And don't shoot it.
Yeah, so WYSIWYG, not favoured by Team Happy, but definitely favoured. But if my guy's got a plasma pistol, he is armed on my arm list with a plasma pistol. If he does not have on my arm list a plasma pistol, he should not have a plasma pistol on his model. It's so you can identify the threats without having, like for instance, I might want to kill all of Nick's anti-infantry, or anti-vehicle, and I see all the plasma guns on his Marines, and I go, okay, I know which squad to shoot, but I'm not going to shoot the heavy bolter squads because I care less about them, and I don't need to ask him which ones have the plasma guns because I can see.
Are we going against WYSIWYG with our generic colour schemes?
I don't care because it's cheaper.
This hobby's expensive enough.
It's expensive enough. Proxying, and it just got more expensive.
The opposite of WYSIWYG. Well, not for us.
Yeah, proxying is the opposite of WYSIWYG.
Yeah.
Where you use a different model in place of the model that it's meant to be.
Yes.
So a model that does not represent the rules and...
Well, I would say proxying you're still representing
The rules, but you're not necessarily the correct model.
Yeah, you're still attempting to represent the correct model, but not using the official Games Workshop model.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That could be a conversion, man.
Now, there's probably a bunch of terms we've missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's maybe going to be...
What about a couple I think I've just checked that we might have missed? Anvil or tank?
Right, yes. I skipped that because I think, effectively it means a super defensive unit, right? Or, and traditionally in Hammer and Anvil, that's where you would hear the term. That's where a unit is able to take your opponent's damage and then you're able to countercharge, right?
Isn't that a beta strike?
It's kind of a castle as well. Hammer and Anvil is like a classic, like a military term.
There are so many of these that interlock.
Yes. But I would just argue that you can. It just means super defensive units, right? Because but a hammer only, an anvil only really matters if you also have a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also you would have to, your opponent has to take that bait.
You say that, if you're just an anvil, and Plague Bearer list, you just sit there and take it.
An entire.
You just park your anvil on all 4 objectives, just.
Which is why I would describe it as I think it's a super defensive unit, right?
Right. Yeah. Nurgle just generally is.
Because there's the idea of an attrition army build list.
I like it though because it fits the narrative for me.
For Nurgle?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. An Age of Sigmar, they're charging 18, they're moving 18 inches then charging. Which does not fit the narrative of Plague Bearer in my mind.
No, just take that off.
Stop that.
Spooky tree, go! We need to do tank and squishy very quickly.
So squishy, what's squishy?
Squishy is the unit that dies easily, tanky is the unit that really doesn't.
Okay, tanky and squishy, yeah. So that's like MMO terms, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, so something that's soft and easy to murder, and something that's really tough and difficult.
Yeah, but if it's soft and easy to murder, it generally does loads of damage, which means you can build hard stuff around it so it doesn't die as easily.
Daisy Duke Dog, we have done castling. I'm pretty certain we've covered stuff like that.
Yeah, we've done castling.
We've talked about buffs. What about effective range?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
so that's basically your movement plus range of
maximum
weapon.
potential for that turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of Warhammer sometimes is to do with what questions you ask your opponent. And if I say how far do they shoot, and you say 24 inches, you haven't included their movement, which is
I normally say 48 inches plus 6-inch move plus fire and fade off the Yanari shooting plus quicken.
Heath 1 is just in here. Hi Heath 1 and the Nurgly. Pardon me.
I normally give them the movement as well and the power that can cause additional movement.
Yes.
Because, if I'm being honest, you're probably not going to be able to get away from it.
Well, especially with Eldari, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
As far as I'm aware, I think that's all I can think of. With all that we've written down.
We have done 60 terms.
Yeah. Have we?
Yeah. 60.
Oh, well done. Okay. A lot of that needs to be watered down.
Refined.
And refined. But I think also, me and John talked about doing some infographics. I'm going to do some videos to help better explain, and also probably needs to be explored more. But it gives us a lexicon to discuss armies in the future. Mm-hmm. I know, obviously, Tom, you're excited about the Space Wolf.
Space Wolf and Used People Cults.
Space Wolves. And with
and Orcs now as well. I'm really excited for
If you
Orcs.
take your hands and reach under the desk, there's a present from me to you.
Oh, thank you, mate.
There's a present from me to you.
Where is it?
Is it another American flag?
It's in a box.
All right.
Or is it in there? Or is it in there?
It's a see-through box. It's a little bit far away.
Ah, fuck.
Yeah, okay. Don't forget this is being recorded, so just be careful. So bring it up.
What you got here?
It's all of the Space Wolf stuff that I have hoarded around.
Mate.
And they're for you.
Mate, that's fucking so kind of you, dude.
It's fine. That's fine.
Seriously.
I was never going to use them because Space Wolves are lame.
They're really nice, dude.
And also, this is really important. They're really nicely painted because they're the first pro-painted things I bought off eBay.
I need to work fucking hard for this.
A while ago. Don't worry about it.
It.
So there's some units you're never going to take,
like
a Whirlwind.
Mate, Whirlwinds are cool.
Okay, Whirlwinds are cool. I don't know if they're any good.
Terminators.
Mate,
there's Rockjack Iron Fist. I think he's a fella in there.
That's very generous.
Nigel
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. There we go.
Those are so much. Mate, now I've got nice models for my
girlfriend. Now you have got nice models. So now if your girlfriend
put that
wrong
in the
models,
cabinet.
you're in loads of trouble.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Is that a Lord of the Rings trebuchet?
Ignore that. There might be some bad.
It's okay. I have a Lord of the Rings trebuchet with this assembled as well.
There you go.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So that's great, and obviously there's loads more to say about this, and I want to say thank you to you two. You've been brilliant. Yeah.
Pleasure.
You guys
As always.
Thank you very much, mate.
That's
Thanks.
fine. And there's loads more to do in the future on this. I'm super excited about this. Did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool to, because there's loads more terms that you might think.
There's loads more, and also the interlock. Or maybe we all didn't think the same thing about them. Right?
Yeah. Like, what was the one where we were discussing? Chaff. That was it.
So, and if you guys are out, which seems like one of the most basic terms, right?
I know, right? Yeah.
We've not even like really covered like. Wow, have we covered like roles?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't. We've started to touch on it. I think I wanted to do this before we moved on to the next stage, which is improving the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have the term Ricer, a unit that looks amazing but does fuck all in the game?
Yes.
And so obviously I'm excited about doing more in the future. So like, just check out what we're doing and where it is. If you've been watching it on Facebook or YouTube or listening to the podcast,
welcome.
Holy fuck, and thank you. If you're watching it back, and if you guys have got terms and ideas and things you disagree with, please tweet us, Facebook us, message us, because we'd like to hear about it.
I'm yet to receive one DM from one person complaining about me getting stuff wrong. I can't believe that's the case. Please send me.
And you want that. All right, good. And don't forget, obviously, that the whole show has been brought to you by everyone on Patreon and Twitch who subscribes or donates, allows us to do free and impartial coverage, and hopefully create things like this, which is going to be fun, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the future. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add? Any shout-outs you want to make before we go? I want to say a thank you to everyone in the Twitch chat for joining us. You guys are fucking cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know some of you guys really enjoyed that. Any new subscribers today? What about you two? Anyone want to say hi to?
No.
I want to say hi to my friend Paul and James. I'm going to smash at Warhammer on Saturday.
Paul and James.
They're going to smash at Warhammer World on Saturday.
No, I'm going to smash them at James' workshop.
Oh, at James' workshop. Is that his house?
With your Chinook?
Yeah.
All right, nice. Tom, you got anyone? Any of your friends out there in the ETC world?
I think is Gavin still in the chat?
You can still say hi to him. Maybe
Hi,
he'll watch it back. I want to say also thanks to all you podcasters. You guys, everyone on the podcast who listens, like quite often. I mean, you guys sometimes message and stuff, but you know, you just kind of listen at work and paint. And so I just want to say a big thank you to you guys, because it's cool seeing those numbers. I think we're nearly at 200,000 downloads.
Wow, that was
pretty cool.
Yeah,
I want to hit 250,000 before I want to be able to put like a picture up that says first year 250,000. So I might just keep uploading like 10-minute episodes.
So before October,
of like me saying just like, yeah, I reckon Space Marines are all right now. So anyway, yeah. And LLB says lovely chopper. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Anyway, you guys have been brilliant. Thank you. Everyone who listens and supports the show, you guys are wonderful. And we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, see you guys soon, Brian.
Bye.